Hey, what's up guys, it's your boy KCM What Ifs. Today we are gonna be reading The Turn of a Hero, or What If Naruto Left Jiraiya and Betrayed Konoha. So sit back, relax and enjoy. It was currently night time. The busy streets of Konoha that are usually filled with civilians going about their business were almost nearly empty. An occasional group could be seen here and there, but most were already home or heading home to call it a day and rest for the next day. But not one Uzumaki Naruto, Jinchuriki of the legendary Kyuubi. Said Bijou was currently grumbling at the moment. Took enough for this day to end. I swear it's like the days are getting longer or something. Would you stop moping? Said Kushina, mother of Naruto, annoyed. I mean, you're the strongest of the Bijou, yet you act like a child. Behave, will you? Kurama merely rolled his eyes at his previous host and mother to his current one. When you're as powerful as I am, you find out that you get to act however you feel like it, regardless of what others think of it. Kushina held her head in her hands, feeling a headache coming. And why is that? She asked. Kurama shrugged. Simple. You can simply kill them if they annoy you too much about it. Kushina sighed. I should have guessed that would have been his answer, she thought to herself. Enough playing around. We're almost there, said Naruto as he jumped from rooftop to rooftop. Are you sure about this? Asked Kushina, bringing her attention to her son and forgetting the little argument she was having with a giant fox for the moment. I mean, I know it would be better if we had more people on our side, especially those inside the village, but I don't think he's a good choice and you'll be forced to kill him afterwards, which would cause even more problems. What's wrong with killing people? Asked Kurama. Kushina took a glance at him. I'm not even going to answer that. Kurama grinned. But you just did. Alright, that does it, screamed Kushina. She had reached her limit. She started to walk menacingly towards the strongest of the Bijou, her hair moving to form what looked like 9 tails behind her back. This was the famous, red-hot habanero, ready to take down her prey. Kurama didn't even bat an eye. I said cut it out, said Naruto in a commanding voice. You two can play around later. This is important. Kushina narrowed her eyes at the fox, promising pain. Kurama merely shrugged again before switching his attention to his container. What makes you so sure this guy will agree to this? I mean, in the past I would have said yes, but after your fight with him, his hatred disappeared, he said, not understanding how his host planned to make this work. Naruto chuckled. Please, Kurama, if there is one thing that you and I can agree on is that both hatred and darkness will always exist, no matter how little it could be, they will always be there. They're part of human nature after all. But still, began Kushina, joining in, I've seen your memories and I have to agree with Kyuubi on this. It looks like he's forgiven his clan after you fought him. He will be of no use. Naruto shook his head. You're wrong, he said, I know him. I know he hasn't forgiven them completely. He's trying, I'll give him that, but not entirely so. But that was 2 years ago, almost 3 now, said Kurama. He could have changed more than you think. No, responded Naruto, with the hatred and bitterness that he had, it will take much longer than that for it to fade away, if at all. It's the same with Sasuke and me. Time amplifies these emotions, making them more powerful. Besides, Naruto shrugged, I have something that I'm sure he can't turn down. And that is? Asked Kushina, suspicious as to where her son was going with this. Naruto smirked. Why take revenge on the very people that took his father away? Kushina's eyes widened. You can't mean. Yes, I am, agreed Naruto, his smirk still in place. Kurama laughed. I have to say, brat, I'm impressed. 2 years ago I never would have thought that you had this in you. I appreciate the compliment. Kushina sighed. He thinks that's a compliment, she thought. But wait a second, she said, her eyes narrowing, I thought they were your allies. Naruto sighed. I already told you I don't trust anyone right now. I knew from the beginning that they had their own agenda. The Raikage isn't going to risk anything simply for a brat like me, he said, his eyes rolling in annoyance at that thought. You know Kumo is not with you? Asked Kushina in bewilderment. Of course, he answered, I'm not an idiot. I'm pretty sure all the Raikage wants is the Byakugan and would simply use me as a diversion. Then that means we don't have a village backing us up, said Kushina in alarm. And if you knew this, then why did you accept the proposal in the first place? I didn't have much choice, said Naruto, his eyes narrowing. I already told you that Kumo is the best choice right now. I also got the Nibi on my side as well. There's also the fact that the Raikage would cover me before I initiate my attack as long as it isn't too big. I'm his best ticket for getting what Kumo has always wanted, and also add that I contain you Kurama. He might even try to seal you out of me and seal you into another future Kumo shinobi. But now, I have the perfect way of getting some use out of them. You don't care about them? Asked Kushina quietly. Naruto snorted. Of course I don't. I like to think of this as a side dish to my main meal. What do you mean by that? She asked, confused. I know that they tried to kidnap you once in the past, he answered quietly, making Kushina's eyes widen. She then turned to Kurama with an angry look on her face. Why am I the one getting that look? Asked the bijou to himself. Hell, I've been quiet. Why did you tell him? Said Kushina. Why didn't you want me to know? He asked her before Kurama could speak. After all, I've allowed you to see and know my past. Why can't you let me have the same courtesy? Kushina sighed. It's not that I don't want you to know about my past. There's just certain things that I'd rather not remember. You think it's not the same for me, he said back to her, but I've given you some trust in letting you know about all my past. Kushina's eyes widened again at that. But it seems you can't return it. No, interrupted Kushina. She shook her head. You're right, she said softly, it's not fair for me to know all aspects of your past but for you not to know mine. A small smile formed on Naruto's face before it disappeared. Good. But now you should know what I mean. I'm sure you're going to take some small pleasure in this too. Kushina chuckled. I'd be lying if I said I'm not going to. Kurama grumbles quietly to himself. Oh yeah, be a bitch to the giant fox, but act all nice to the blonde idiot. We're here, said Naruto as he landed in front of the Hyuga compound. Kushina sighed once more. I hope you know what you're doing. It's going to be something all right, said Kurama. Oh yeah, agreed Naruto as one of the guards approached him, but getting Niji on my side will make for a very good first move. No one is here, observed Fu as she walked next to Obito inside the Uchiha compound. This one was not the same as the one he and the others had occupied, but structurally it could be said that it was identical. Obito nodded. Yes. Currently everyone else has something that needs to be taken care of. Then what are we going to do? Asked Fu. That's what we're here to find out, he answered. Before Fu could ask him what he meant, Obito opened a door that led to a room to which Fu would say was a meeting room. In the middle was a very big round table, with chairs all around it. The only light source were candles that were lit, something which Fu pondered. How long have they been lit? She thought. But then she remembered hearing that the Uchiha clan were masters of the fire style, so it wouldn't be surprising if they had some jutsu that kept the candles lit. Obito walked inside, Fu following him. He stopped in front of the table, and took something out of his kunai pouch. It looked like a small disc to Fu. The next thing that happened had Fu jumping and screaming. You see, as soon as Obito placed the disc on the table, a figure appeared. My, said the voice, amused and clearly female. I didn't think I was that scary. Of course she was referring to Fu's reaction. Obito sighed. You're not, he said, she's just never seen something like this before. The figure shrugged. I suppose. Excuse me, said Fu unsurely, raising her hand. What? Asked Obito. Not to be rude, but what is that? She asked, pointing to the figure. Where are my manners? My name is Uchiha Mikoto and this is a hologram. Fu tilted her head to the side. What's that? It's a device that allows the user's mind to appear as if he or she were at the location that it set up, answered Obito. To be honest, you look the same to me as you see me. Fu blushed from embarrassment. Oh, okay, she said quietly. I take it she's the Jinchuriki of the Nanabai? Obito nodded. Yeah, so I accomplished my end. What about you? I'm heading to IWA with both the Hachibi and Nibi Jinchuriki as planned, but... But what? Asked Obito. Fu perked up when she heard that 2 other Jinchurikis were there. Mikoto sighed. There were some alterations. Obito raised an eyebrow. What kind of alterations? He asked. I had to put the Reikage under a genjutsu. You what? Said Obito. I had no choice. The bastard wouldn't budge on letting the Hachibi Jinchuriki out as well as supporting us completely. Obito ran a hand through his hair. If he breaks free. He's not, her tone said that she was sure of it. How do you know that? He asked her. It was one of my stronger ones. You have to be a genjutsu specialist or have the Sharingan and be highly proficient in it as well as with the Byakugan. What if someone were to detect it? I thought that was okay. Like I said, you would have to have the Sharingan or the Byakugan. And if by some chance someone does notice, it's a triple-layered one. So we're good. Obito sighed. Well then that's done, I suppose. I guess that leaves IWA. Yes. Sasuke should be on his way by now. I'll contact you when we have accomplished what needs to be done there. What about us? What should we do in the meantime? Asked Obito, referring to himself and Fu. I heard that you have Kakuzu and Haiden under your possession, am I right? Obito raised both eyebrows. How do you know that? I didn't tell you. Obito wasn't sure, but he thought he could see the grin on Mikoto's face on the hologram. Oh, I have my ways, but the important part is that they will be useful in getting Fu here in Konoha. Fu looked unsure about that. Konoha? Why should I go there? She asked. We have someone in there that wouldn't mind having some backup, I think. In any case, it's better this way. So what? Said Obito. Should I just release them in Konoha and let them chase Fu? Fu didn't like the sound of that. No, just Haiden. Both of them could cause more problems that we don't need at the moment. Are you sure about this? I'm pretty sure Danzo would use this opportunity and try to get his hands on the Nanabai. Don't worry. Tsunade would never let that happen. Once you have accomplished that, I'll let you know what's next. Yeah, whatever. Muttered Obito. And one last thing. Fu, do tell the blonde idiot that I send my regards. With that, the hologram disappeared. Blonde idiot? Repeated Fu in confusion. Who's that? It's the Kyubi Jinchuriki, answered Obito as he began to walk out. Fu's eyes widened before catching up to Obito. So the person I'm supposed to be backing up is? Obito chuckled. I don't think he's gonna need it, but you'll be safer this way. And you won't know too much. Obito already had an idea as to what Mikoto wanted him to do after this. Fu smiled. I guess I did make the right choice, she thought as the two made their way out of the hideout and headed to Konoha. Naruto? Naruto turned to find one Hyuga Neji staring at him in shock. Naruto mentally smirked. Wish I had a camera right now. Kurama chuckled. Don't worry. I already saved it. Kushina stayed quiet, watching this unfold. Naruto waved. Yo. Long time no see, Neji. Neji came out of his shock and tried to recompose himself. I must admit, this is a surprise, he said. We all thought you had left the village and would not come back. Naruto already knew who the we Niji was referring to. Yeah, well, I was on a training trip, that's all. And as you can see, I came back. Niji eyed him, not believing him. Of course, this only made Naruto more amused. Yes, he's the perfect choice, all right. Well, what do I owe this visit then? Especially at this hour, he asked. Naruto shrugged. Just came to talk to you about some things, he answered. What things? Naruto looked him straight in the eyes. Would you mind if we talked somewhere more private? Niji raised an eyebrow but complied. As he led Naruto to the back gardens where no one was present, especially at this hour, Niji glanced at him through his peripherals. Not only has his appearance changed, Niji thought, looking at his new choice of clothing, but his attitude as well. When they reached them, Naruto looked around. Are you there's no one that can hear us here? Niji nodded, although suspicious as to why the blonde wanted privacy. Yes. No one should disturb us here. Now, what is it you wanted to talk about? Kurama. I know. I'll tell you if anyone is coming. Naruto's face turned serious, no playfulness present at all, making Niji take a step back subconsciously. I'll be frank with you, Niji, he began, the reason I gave you earlier as to why I left was bullshit. Niji regained his composure again. I thought as much, said Niji, so I suppose then that you're here to tell me why you really left. Naruto nodded. Which brings me to my next question, he took a pause, then continued, why are you telling me this? Naruto smirked. I'll get straight to the point. I want you to join me. Niji raised an eyebrow. Join you? Join you for what? For that I'll have to start from the beginning, said Naruto. He paused, then continued. At the beginning when I ditched Jiraiya, it really was just for training. I wanted, to see how powerful I can become, and staying with the pervert clearly wasn't going to help me with that. So I traveled, and trained, and saw how the shinobi world is. But during that, I learned of something that changed everything. Niji stayed silent, opting to listen to what Naruto had to say since he wanted to know as well. Naruto looked up at the stars. I learned that this place, Konoha, is the same place that I called home and wanted to protect it no matter what betrayed my entire family. Niji's eyes widened. What are you talking about? You're an orphan. Naruto looked at him. So are you, yet you know your family. It's the same with me, except that I didn't know mine until about 2 years ago. Niji didn't say anything to that. But what could Konoha have done? Voicing his question, he said, you haven't told me how Konoha betrayed your family. Naruto shrugged. It's pretty simple really. I suppose you haven't heard of the Uzumaki clan? Niji shook his head, never having heard of an Uzumaki clan. Naruto shrugged again. Well, as I was saying, it's simple. My clan was becoming too powerful. Too much in fact that it made the other nations wary. So Iwa, Kumo, and Kiri decided to form a strike force to annihilate the clan. Konoha, who were allies to the Uzumakis, found out about the attack beforehand but decided not to do a single thing. Instead they decided to just watch my clan burn while they just sat back like the arrogant and lazy bastards they are. As Naruto finished, Niji was in shock. Not that he could be blamed. I mean, it isn't every day that one is told something that is most likely an S-rank secret. But then realization dawned upon Niji, now knowing what Naruto meant when he said that he wanted him to join him. You want to destroy Konoha, don't you? It was more of a statement really. Naruto merely nodded. Niji was silent for a few moments. I understand where you're coming from, he finally said, but unfortunately I fail to see why telling me this would help you in any way or that I would join you. What? The fact that they did this to my clan doesn't make you worry that they might do it to the Hyuga as well, said Naruto sarcastically. Or rather they have, but not on such a big scale. What are you talking about? Said Niji with narrowed eyes. Why, the death of your father, of course. Niji was in front of him instantly, grabbing him by the collar. My father has nothing to do with this, understand? He said darkly. Oh, my bad, said Naruto mockingly, hit a soft spot have I? He turned serious. How do you think I feel? At least you got to know your father, always had a clan to protect you, in a way. Me? He chuckled without any humor. Destiny wasn't so kind to me. Kushina closed her eyes, trying with all her willpower not to cry. Kurama just listened. Niji let him go and took a couple of steps back. Just what are you trying to get at? Naruto shrugged. I'm just stating facts. This village and even your own clan have fucked up your life as well. Niji turned his head away. You're wrong. My father chose what he wanted to do. In his mind maybe, retorted Naruto, but this village has profited off of people like that for a while now. Itachi came to his mind. Do you really think they couldn't find another way? Of course they could. They could have fought back. But when your father offered his solution they took it in a heartbeat. They don't care who they have to go over or have to sacrifice. Just like the main branch. Niji turned to look at him. You're wrong. Naruto growled. Stop being stubborn and accept it already. We both know you hate the main branch even to this day. I'm offering you a chance to get back at them. As well as... He took a pause. As well as show you how rotten this village really is. What are you talking about now? My clan's destruction and letting your father die meaninglessly are just the beginning. There are more things. Niji clenched his hands, becoming fists. Starting to understand? Protecting this place would be even more meaningless than what your father did. Then what did he die for? Screamed Niji. For what he thought was right, answered Naruto. But that right isn't the right that he was thinking of. But you have the choice to do it differently. Naruto extended his right hand towards Niji. If you join me, you will know everything. That's all that I can promise you. Well that, and the chance to take this place down as well as take your revenge on Kumo who started all of this. Niji looked at the extended hand and then at Naruto. I will know everything. Everything. Niji took it. Why do we have to bring this guy along? Sasuke sighed as Karen went on screaming at Suigetsu again for being useless. They were currently resting per Suigetsu's request, again. It's that sword isn't it? Said Karen as she pointed at Kubikuribocho that's strapped on Suigetsu's back. It's too heavy for you. You should just leave it behind. Suigetsu merely ignored her as he continued to drink his water. Oi, Sasuke, he said, catching the young Uchiha's attention, whatever happened to the Samehada that Kisame-senpai had? Itachi sealed it away, he answered, remembering how he did the same to his curse mark and Orochimaru. What? Said Suigetsu in outrage. Sasuke merely let out one of his famous humph and didn't say anything else. Fuck, there goes my dream, thought Suigetsu bitterly. Maybe I should ditch them. He took a glance at Karen who was staring at Sasuke blushing. Yeah, I really should ditch. We'll have to be there soon, thought Sasuke. They were currently near the border that divided the land of fire from the land of earth. If Kaasan gets there before us. Sasuke shuddered. Alright, let's go, he said standing up. Karen quickly followed him as Sasuke began to walk away. TCH. Thought Suigetsu as he stood up. I wonder if Sasuke would try to kill me if did ditch. He decided not to risk it, so he began to walk following the other two. Besides, we're supposed to meet up with his mom, right? I wouldn't mind seeing her again. Why do I feel the need to cut someone in half, thought Sasuke, but decided not to dwell on it. Instead he continued on his way, not noticing the pair of eyes that were watching. Kabuto grinned as one of his snakes brought the report of what it had seen. So Sasuke-kun is coming here, thought Kabuto as he readjusted his glasses. Interesting, he thought, I wonder why though? Oh well, it doesn't matter. All that matters is me getting those eyes. Once I do, I'll be closer to becoming as strong as the Rikudo Sennin. For that though, I'm going to need Naruto-kun as well. He tilted his head to see all the bodies of IWA shinobi ranging from genin to umbu that were spread all around him. All in good time. I do almost have enough bodies for the Edo Tensei. Anoki, you old fool, you have been a great help. I should leave soon though. No doubt someone will come after me. It would be a great chance to really test out my new powers, but I'm not going to risk it yet. He stood up and started to laugh. Yes, soon, he would have what he wanted. I have to say, brat, I wasn't expecting the Hyuga to agree. I am unpredictable. Currently Naruto was flopped down on his bed in his apartment. You should rest, said Kushina softly, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Yes, but Niji was just the first. Tomorrow. Agreed Naruto as he closed his eyes, succumbing to sleep quickly, today's event having taken a toll. Kushina looked at Kurama. Kurama looked at her back. Why do I get the impression that you're hiding something, said Kushina. Kurama shrugged. Maybe because of the history we share. I don't know, responded the Bijou. Kushina looked at him for a few seconds before she disappeared, going deeper into Naruto's subconscious to rest as well. Kurama looked at the spot Kushina was occupying before chuckling. He rested his head on his paws, closing his eyes. If only you realize how important your son is, Kushina. You would never believe me. Heh, I didn't believe it either. But you were right, old man, soon we will all be together again. Just you wait, my brothers. With that last thought, the chakra entity succumbed to his own slumber. Go to hell, all of you. But Sachikage-sama. No buts. Now get the hell out of my office. One by one all the members of the council that were supposed to have a say in village matters both political and military-wise walked out of the office of the Sandaime Tsuchikage, realizing that their leader wasn't going to listen to what they had to say. Anoki, the Sandaime Tsuchikage, sighed, trying to calm himself down. Who are they to try to tell me what to do, he thought bitterly to himself. I will not stop until whoever it is that has entered my nation and has made me look like a fool be brought back here so that I may cut his head personally. From that thought alone, anyone could guess that he was not in the good mood. But why should he be? He's lost both of his Jinchurikis, their respective bijou along with them. And it was thanks to Akatsuki. I should have never worked alongside that organization, he thought angrily. He was referring to when he himself had hired Akatsuki in the past. Of course, at that time he had no idea what their true purpose was. Hell, he still didn't know what it was. But at that time he just thought that they were just a group of mercenaries and nothing more. But time has shown him that he was wrong, which caused him to lose his most important weapons. And now this new problem shows up, killing his shinobi. His hands became fists at that thought. He was not about to let some upstart brat belittle him. He was the Sandaime Tsuchikage, the same person that fought in both the Second and Third Shinobi War, having fought against legends such as the Sandaime and Yondaime Hokage, and even the legendary Uchiha Madara himself. He was the apprentice of the Nidaime Tsuchikage and the only shinobi that possessed the legendary Jintan. Yes, there was no way an upstart brat was gonna make a fool out of him. No matter how many shinobi he would have to sacrifice, he would capture the brat. And after he dealt with that little nuisance, he would focus his attention on Akatsuki and would show them just how wrong they were if they thought they could cross him the way they did. And of course get both of his bijous back. I might even be able to get some of the others that they have already caught, he thought with a smirk before it vanished. First came the upstart, and then Akatsuki. Kabuto knew something was wrong. He couldn't quite place it, but as soon as the sun started to rise, signifying the beginning of a new day, something in his gut told him that it was not going to be a good day for him. And he trusted his gut. It was the very thing that helped him to stay as Orochimaru's right-hand man for so long, after all. And if it could accomplish something like that, well, he better listen to it. That was precisely why he was preparing to leave the land of Earth. But before he left, he would have to run into Sasuke. After all, he wasn't going to waste this golden opportunity that was given to him on what seemed like a silver platter. He could almost feel himself possessing the very eyes that Orochimaru had always wanted, but never gotten. He was so lost in thought, he didn't sense the arrival of Zetsu. "Found you at last," said White Zetsu with a chuckle as they emerged from the ground next to Kabuto. Kabuto's response was instantaneous, jumping a good distance away from the legendary spy of Akatsuki. "Jumpy, aren't you?" he added with another chuckle. Kabuto merely smirked. "Well, this is a surprise. I didn't think Akatsuki would have any interest in me," he said. "We don't have much choice at the moment," said Black Zetsu, speaking for the first time. "Well then, what does Akatsuki want with me?" asked Kabuto. "Are you here to kill me?" "Don't be ridiculous," said White Zetsu with a grin. "Why would we want to kill you?" Kabuto shrugged. "I don't know. It just seems logical. After all, I pretty much know everything that Orochimaru-sama knew." "That may be, but like I said, we don't have much choice at the moment." Kabuto smirked again as he lowered his head. "I see. You're here to recruit me then. Clever boy." "Yes, you're right," continued his counterpart. "Akatsuki is currently in need of more members." "So you chose me?" Kabuto bowed mockingly. "I'm honored," he said sarcastically. "Don't push your luck, boy. You're lucky that you've been chosen at all." "Don't you mean asked?" said Kabuto. "Oh yes, I remember now. You can't say no, can you? Because if you do, you would be simply killed." "Oh yes, I am lucky," he finished chuckling. Before either Zetsu could retort, another person decided to make her presence known. "Well, isn't this a lovely surprise?" said a voice from above them. Both Kabuto and Zetsu turned, and to Zetsu's surprise and Kabuto's curiosity there stood Uchiha Mikoto standing on a tree branch with a smirk, both Yujito and B behind her. White Zetsu cursed. Black Zetsu merely raised a non-existent eyebrow. "She's early." "And who might you be?" asked Kabuto to Mikoto. Mikoto placed her right hand on her hip. "Didn't your mother teach you that it's inappropriate to ask someone their name without giving your own?" she said like she was talking to a 4-year-old. Kabuto chuckled. "No, unfortunately she didn't," he answered with humor. Mikoto sighed, shaking her head. "Well, that's too bad. I guess I'm going to have to teach you good manners, aren't I?" she said, taking the sword out of somewhere. "We need to get out of here," said White Zetsu to Kabuto. Kabuto shook his head. "I think not. This is a perfect chance to try out the Edo Tensei." "The Edo Tensei, huh?" thought Mikoto. "So that's what he's been up to." "Oi," said Yujito behind her, "are we really going to fight these guys?" she asked. "Don't be afraid, kitty," said B with his usual carefree voice, "the 8 Tails is here. And, no, I'm not trying to rap, I suck, so no point in trying." Yujito didn't bother trying to correct him for calling her kitty. Mikoto merely ignored her question. White Zetsu looked at Kabuto. "Suit yourself then. Do know that Akatsuki doesn't require your services anymore," said White Zetsu as they started going underground. Kabuto raised an eyebrow. "Really? And why is that?" "It doesn't require the services of dead men, that's why," finished his counterpart as they completely sunk underground. Mikoto didn't bother trying to stop Zetsu from leaving, instead keeping her attention on Kabuto. For his part, Kabuto narrowed his eyes at the spot where Zetsu had been, before turning to Mikoto. He narrowed his eyes more as he took in her appearance. "She kinda looks like Sasuke-kun and Itachi, wait now that you mention it." He chuckled before blowing up in complete laughter. "What is he laughing at?" asked Yujito. B shrugged, not knowing. Mikoto sighed, and before either Yujito and B knew it, she was right in front of Kabuto, sword raised and bringing down Kabuto. Kabuto blocked it with a kunai, a smirk in place. That was fast, thought Yujito with wide eyes. B in a similar state. I didn't even see her move. I was right when I thought she was strong, she finished with narrowed eyes. Back with Kabuto and Mikoto, Kabuto still had his smirk. Now I know who you are. I must say this is quite the surprise. Never thought I would meet the mother of the two people that destroyed Orochimaru-sama. I'm honored that you know who I am, said Mikoto with obvious sarcasm, but really I need to be somewhere. So if you would just let me kill you without too much hassle I would really appreciate it. Kabuto merely smirked again. Too bad then because I have things to do as well. Till we meet again, Uchiha Mikoto. With that, the Kabuto in front of her turned into snakes. Mikoto jumped back instantly. Motherfucker, she thought angrily. He's just as slippery as Orochimaru. Although I don't know who's uglier. Yujito and B landed right next to her. What was that about? Asked Yujito. Mikoto looked at her before her sword disappeared, somehow. Nothing for you to worry about. Now let's go. We have to get to IWA. Yujito glared at Mikoto's back as she started to walk away. B placed a hand on her shoulder, causing her to look at him. B shook his head, and Yujito shook his hand off before starting to walk as well. I know, no killing the annoying bitch, she thought angrily as the three made their way to IWA. Kabuto smirked to himself as he made his way out of the land of Earth. It would seem that his gut was wrong for the first time. He didn't consider what had happened bad at all. Actually he thought it was wonderful. Of course he had heard the rumors that Uchiha Itachi's mother was still alive, but didn't believe them, till today. Even though he also wanted to test the Edo Tensei, it would be best if he tested it out on a weaker opponent first. Another downside would be not being able to get to Sasuke at the moment. There was no doubt in Kabuto's mind that the reason Sasuke was here was because of Mikoto. What was she planning? He didn't know, but he wasn't going to worry about it at the moment. He was sure there would be more chances to get to Sasuke. This was just one of them, a good one that really wasn't a good one. He stopped walking and sighed. So much for thinking I was free. Seems you survived, said White Zetsu as they appeared on a tree. You got lucky. That's all. Kabuto merely shrugged. Perhaps. But the important thing is that I'm alive. The means don't matter in that regard. I suppose, said White Zetsu, but it would seem that Akatsuki will need your services after all. Kabuto tilted his head. And here I thought you didn't. You aren't dead. So that counts for something. That's all. If I were to join Akatsuki, I would ask for something in return. Tell that to Tobi. Kabuto chuckled. Of course, then let's go. Oi, brat, who's your second choice again? Naruto sighed as he calmly walked through the village. The streets were beginning to get crowded again as shops and stores began to open, and civilians went about to do whatever it was that they needed to get done for the day. Weren't you listening when I was speaking about it? He asked in his bijou. Nope. I was still in the process of becoming awake, answered Kurama truthfully. Kushina sighed. And to think he's the scary Kyuubi that parents tell their kids at nighttime so that they won't do anything bad. Hell, to think he's the one that almost destroyed the village almost 16 years ago, she thought incredulously to herself. Naruto chuckled as he neared the training ground where his target was located. Yes, well then, I'll just leave it up to you. Kurama shrugged, not that Naruto could see. Whatever. I don't think it will be that suspenseful. Probably, agreed Naruto, she's really an obvious choice. What about your mission for today? Asked Kushina. The message Tsunade sent. We've got plenty of time, interrupted Naruto. Although I am surprised that Kakashi managed to recover this quickly. My wind style, Rasengan is really something someone doesn't heal that fast from. Don't forget that Tsunade is a medical specialist, reminded Kushina, and I'm sure that Haruno girl must know her stuff as well since it's obvious that she's Tsunade's apprentice as well as that other woman, Shizun. There's also plenty of other advanced medical shinobi in this village. Naruto nodded, agreeing. Yeah, I suppose you're right about that. Alright brat, I can't take it anymore. Who is it? Screamed Kurama. Both mother and son sweat dropped. Weren't you the one that said that it wasn't that suspenseful? Asked Naruto, amused. Well, since you two keep talking about it, it's only natural that I would snap, answered Kurama with a huff. Kushina's eyebrows twitched. We weren't even talking about it. Kurama paused at that. You weren't? He asked suspiciously. Kushina could only sigh. Yep, she thought to herself, I don't see the resemblance at all. Naruto only chuckled again before turning serious. We're here, he said as he stood in front of the gate that led to Training Ground 44 aka, the Forest of Death, and the same place where he took his Chunin exam. This place sure brings memories, thought Naruto, remembering what had happened here almost 3 years ago. Are you sure she's in there? Asked Kurama, already knowing who it was. Naruto mentally nodded as he proceeded inside the training ground. Yeah. This is the place where she escapes from all the bullshit this village gives her. This won't be too hard then, said Kushina. It's not that it won't be hard, began Naruto, but it just won't be as difficult as with Niji. Just plant a doubt, that's all, said Kurama with a chuckle. Naruto was about to respond but was instead forced to dodge a kunai. He turned towards where it was thrown from, except there wasn't anyone. So she wants to play then? Thought Naruto with a smirk as he took out a kunai. It wasn't long before a barrage of both kunai and shuriken headed towards him. Naruto dodged most of them but blocked a few. He jumped upwards as Mitarashi Anko appeared at the spot he previously occupied with a kunai in hand. Naruto brought his own kunai forward as he landed, clashing with Anko's. Well, said Anko with a smirk, you're not too bad brat. Naruto smirked back. I could say the same to you. Ah, said Anko with a fake blush, you're making me blush. Then she disappeared in a burst of smoke and Naruto felt a kunai aimed at his neck. I would say I'm better than not too bad, whispered Anko into his ear from behind him. Naruto's smirking was at full force until he too burst into smoke and Anko found herself in the same position Naruto was. Perhaps, whispered Naruto into her ear, but I'm still better. Anko looked surprised for a few seconds before her grin returned. Well, looks like you got me. What are you going to do to me now? She asked in a sultry voice. Oh yeah, said Kurama with a grin, she's perfect. Kushina's hair shadowed her eyes. That bitch, she thought with shaking fists. Unaware of his mother's murderous thoughts against the woman in front of him, Naruto shrugged. Depends. There are many things I could do to you. Anko broke down laughing. Oh yeah, you just made my day brat. Unfortunately it's gonna take more than a little flirting to get between my legs. Naruto placed the kunai back in his pouch and stepped back. That wasn't my intention really. I mean, you're the one that attacked me. Anko shrugged as she put her kunai back in her kunai pouch. Well, no one comes here, she said honestly. Any reason? Asked Naruto, although he already knew the answer. Because they're smart enough to do so, answered Anko like it was nothing. Well, I'm a known idiot, said Naruto with a shrug. Anko rolled her eyes. Whatever brat. Now why exactly did you come here? Naruto's face lost all his playfulness which surprised Anko. I came here looking for you, he answered in a serious voice. Anko's fake blush returned. I'm flattered truly, she said, unfortunately, you're a little bit too young for me. When Naruto's face remained serious, Anko knew that he wasn't joking. Well, what do you want from me? She asked him after a couple of seconds. This time Naruto shrugged. It's not what I want, but it's what you want. Enko's eyes narrowed. What the hell are you talking about, brat? Naruto shrugged again. Exactly what I said. Tell me something, Anko, are you happy? He asked her. Anko's face turned confused. Really, what the hell are you talking about? Naruto sighed. Exactly what I asked. Are you truly happy with your life? Anko's face became dark. What the hell is it to you? With that response, Naruto knew his answer. Everything, really. Because I have a way in which you can finally be happy and not simply be known as the apprentice of a traitor. Much like with Neji, Anko was in front of him when a second kunai pointed at his throat. I'm not in the mood for this type of crap, brat. I've beaten the bloody pulp out of people for much less than what you just said. Naruto looked unfazed as if there wasn't a kunai pointed at his throat. It's the truth though. People in this village don't respect you. You're an outcast just like I am. Anko's face became even darker. Bullshit. I have friends in this village. Naruto raised an eyebrow. I highly doubt that. But I'll bite. Who? He said in an unbelievable voice. There's Kurenai, Yugao, and everybody in the interrogation department. Naruto nodded his head mockingly. Ah, I see. Yes, they are really your friends, all right. Anko narrowed her eyes and applied more force to the kunai that was at Naruto's throat. Don't go making fun of me, you brat. You got that? Oh really? Because everyone in this village, even those so-called friends, have been doing it for a long time now, and yet I don't see you doing anything about it. So what if I wanted to join them as well in mocking you and making fun of you? What makes me different? Anko didn't reply, but the force on the kunai didn't lessen either. You want to know why you're angry at me? Said Naruto. It's because you know I'm right. Those friends you have in the interrogation department would no sooner turn on you and torture you if told to, as well as Kurenai. She might not despise you like the others, but she only puts up with you. I'm pretty sure the same could be said for Yugao. At this the force was lessening, so he pressed forward. You're starting to understand, aren't you? You don't have anyone in this village. You're alone. You've been alone for a long time now, but you've been trying to escape that truth, blinding yourself into thinking that you actually had connections to this village. But you don't. You're simply viewed as the apprentice of a traitor and expected to go down the same path. Since they couldn't get to the real person who actually deserved that mistreatment, they went after you. In other words, you're an scapegoat just like me. Tears were starting to fall down Anko's face by this point. She dropped to her knees, the kunai forgotten. Are you here just to make me feel like this? Asked Anko quietly, the tears still falling. Naruto kneeled beside her and grabbed her face, stroking her cheek softly. Despite herself, Anko leaned into it. No. I'm here to offer you a way out of this misery. You deserve much better than all of this. You are much better than all of this. This village is just stupid for not realizing that. What do you offer? Asked Anko softly. Naruto smiled. A better life. And a chance to get back at this place for all the sadness and pain that it has caused you. Will you leave me? Asked Anko, remembering how Orochimaru left her, discarded her like a broken tool. Naruto shook his head. Of course not. That made her decision. It may be rash, but she didn't care. He had broken through the defenses she had set up for years in a matter of minutes with the simple truth: she was alone. She had no one. But he was offering the chance of no more of that, and she was willing to risk it. Anko took hold of his hand, and brought her face closer to his. And Naruto did nothing to stop it. Their lips met. Kushina closed her eyes, not wanting to see her son kissing another woman. She could say that it was because she was his mother and that it was embarrassing, but she knew that wasn't true. It was because she was jealous. Kurama watched his second host and knew what problem she was having. The brat is something. Kakuzu wanted to stab something. And fast. And hard. Why? Because of the person next to him. Motherfucker piece of shit. How long is he gonna keep us here? Screamed Haydn. The two were currently in Obito's dimension, both tied up and with seals that prevented them from using chakra. I would rather be dead than be alive and listen to this, thought Kakuzu angrily. Calm down, said Obito as he appeared in his dimension in a vortex. Hey asshole, screamed Haydn. Get me out of here. Kakuzu could only sigh. Does he really think he's in any position to demand anything, he thought, amazed at his ex-partner's stupidity. Obito raised an eyebrow. You really shouldn't be demanding anything. Fuck you, was Haydn's response. Why is it this guy that has to go free, thought Obito, annoyed. But then again, he's gonna end up dead at the end, so I'll call it even. Obito walked up to Haydn, ignoring his curses, and teleported him to the real world, knowing he couldn't do shit considering the position that he was in. Kakuzu raised an eyebrow. You actually let him go? He asked incredulously. Obito shrugged. Considering how he's going to end up, I think he would have preferred being in this position. But then again, it's Haydn, so, I don't know. What are you going to do? Obito chuckled. You're in no position to ask anything either. Besides, I'm taking a huge risk by keeping you here. And why is that? Again, you're in no position to ask anything. He was about to transport himself when Kakuzu spoke. Wait, said Kakuzu. Obito tilted his head, silently asking him what he wanted to say. Kakuzu was silent for a few seconds, before looking Obito straight in the eye. That offer you made in Taki, is it still on the table? Obito crossed his arms and closed his eyes. A few tense moments later, he opened them and looked at Kakuzu. And why should I even consider you at this point? You already said no. Kakuzu nodded. True. But that's because I actually thought that I had a chance. Not only that, but that you would kill me, not that you would keep me in here. Also, I'm starting to think that you're more dangerous than Akatsuki. Still, began Obito, there's no guarantee that you would remain loyal to us. How do I know you won't talk to your leader? Kakuzu shrugged, or the best that he could do given his position. Simple. Money. Obito shook his head. That's not good enough. What the hell do you want then? He asked. From you, he said, nothing. Look, began Kakuzu, I'm greedy but I'm not stupid. Do you seriously think I would try to cross you considering how easy you can defeat me or find me? Please, I'm not Haydn. Obito was silent for a few seconds before he nodded. Fine. But I won't pay you. Consider that your reward for saying no. Kakuzu grunted before nodding. Obito smirked. Good. But listen to this, if you do betray us, I will come after you and I will find you. And when I do, you'd wish you'd stayed here. Kakuzu could only nod. Then let's go. Obito transported both of them. The first thing they heard was Haydn's shouts at Fu. When Haydn saw that Obito had appeared again, he began to curse him again and promised pain and how he would die painfully. Obito merely ignored him again and went to untying Kakuzu. What are you doing? Asked Fu, confused. Haydn had stopped cursing and looked on, confused also. What does it look like? I'm freeing him, answered Obito. But why? I thought it was just this guy, she said, pointing to Haydn. Obito muttered Kai, and the seals that made sure that Kakuzu couldn't use chakra disappeared. Kakuzu stood up and stretched. Oi, Kakuzu, said Haydn. Kakuzu turned his head to look at him. What the hell are you doing? He asked. Kakuzu shrugged. Saving my life, that's what. What the hell do you mean by that, you piece of shit? Kakuzu sighed and turned towards Obito, who had an annoyed look on his face. Are you sure he's going to die? He asked him. Obito shrugged. Probably so, yeah. Haiden began to curse and scream again before Fu decided that she had enough. So she kicked him in the balls, hard. Even Kakuzu cringed when Haiden hit the ground with a pained look on his face. Obito turned to Fu with an amused look on his face. Fu only shrugged. What? He was getting on my nerves. I like this girl already, said Kakuzu to Obito, who chuckled. Alright then, we're going to need to release Haiden now, said Obito. What for? Asked Kakuzu. To get her into Konoha without any suspicion, he answered, pointing to Fu. You're to tell the Hokage that your village sold you out and you found out and escaped. You managed to catch one of them in a trap but not the other, so you kept running and before you knew it you were here, he continued, talking to Fu, who listened intently. Remember that once you're inside, try to get into contact with Uzumaki Naruto and explain why you're there. Fu nodded. He's blonde and has whiskers. He didn't need to say anything else. Who else fitted that description? What about me? Asked Kakuzu. You'll head back to Akatsuki for now, answered Obito. And what am I to tell the leader? Simple. That you and Haiden escaped, answered Obito. Kakuzu was going to speak again but Obito raised his hand. After that you saw that the Nanabai Jinchuriki was nearby and went after her. But in your pursuit you didn't realize that you had arrived in Konoha. So then, Konoha intervened, saved the Jinchuriki and killed Haiden, but you managed to escape. Kakuzu nodded. I see. You'll need to look like you just came out of a battle though, said Obito, and you'll need to at least lose one of your hearts. Kakuzu nodded again. I understand then. Good, said Obito before forming hand seals. Raikiri. Kakuzu looked at the lighting that gathered around Obito's hand. The chakra is visible, he thought. What is this jutsu? Thought Fu with wide eyes. Which heart should I take out? Asked Obito. My water mask, answered Kakuzu after a couple of seconds as one of the masks took the form of a weird-shaped creature. Obito nodded and hit the mask with the jutsu, not that it tried to dodge. Well then, said Obito, pulling out the disc, as Fu had called it, and handing it to Kakuzu. When you have anything important to report, use this. I will contact you sometimes as well. Make sure no one else finds it. Kakuzu took it and nodded. I hope you're starting to see that I'm not going to try anything, said Kakuzu. This is a start, agreed Obito, but I'm not getting my hopes up. Now get going. Kakuzu nodded again before disappearing, heading towards one of Akatsuki's bases. Obito turned to Fu. Now it's your turn. Fu nodded. Alright, we'll start with a simple mission for now, began Tsunade. Currently Team Kakashi was in the Hokage's office ready to receive its first mission after a while. Sakura kept sending glances to Naruto, who ignored her. He was having his own conversation. That was pretty good, brat, congratulated Kurama. Kushina just stayed silent. Yeah, and now I have 2 more people on my side, both in key positions, said Naruto. There's only one person left. Tsunade kept sending Naruto glances to see if he would disagree with her for giving them an easy mission, but it didn't seem that he cared. Before she could continue, Shizen barged in, again. Tsunade-sama. Team Kakashi and Tsunade turned their attention to the panting assistant. What is Shizen now? Asked Tsunade, dreading the answer. It would seem that every time Shizen barged in, it was only to bring bad news. And this time was no different. There's a member of Akatsuki right outside the village walls. What? Roared Tsunade as she stood up. Kakashi looked ready for action, and Sakura looked a little frightened but determined. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Just one. I already smell the handiwork of the Uchihas in this, said Kurama. I agree with that, commented Kushina. Finally talking is she, thought Kurama. And he seems to be chasing a girl as well, added Shizen. Some of our shinobi have already engaged him but nothing seems to work. "We're going," said Tsunade as she walked towards the door, the others following. Could it be Yujito, thought Naruto. Perhaps, but they might be another female Jinchuriki, said Kurama. Naruto silently nodded as they made their way towards the east gate. And indeed, Chunin and Jonin alike were battling Haiden, but he just shrugged off their attacks. Fu was being escorted into the village when she caught sight of Yellow. She then saw the whiskers and knew the person she needed to talk to. Ha ha ha, laughed Haiden. Oh yeah, Lord Jashin has rewarded me for my faithful service all right. Now where's that girl? He hadn't forgotten the damage his balls had taken. Stop him, screamed a random Jonin. Haiden just laughed as more shinobi rushed at him. Yes. Become sacrifices. Pull back, screamed Tsunade trying to organize her shinobi. Naruto looked around and noticed Neji with Team Guy. He sent a nod towards him, which he returned. Oi, brat, what are you going to do about this? Asked Kurama. Well, considering all the damage this guy has taken and still standing, I'm gonna say another fool is trying to become immortal. Didn't answer the question, but okay. Fire style, Enden. Water style, Mizurappa. Lighting style, John. Haiden just laughed more as the attacks hit him. The Konoha shinobi looked on as the smoke cleared, revealing an unharmed Haiden. Well, his Akatsuki cloak was worse for wear, but he himself was fine. Still laughing in fact. Is that all you got? Naruto, you're going to have to do something, said Kushina, although Naruto detected the lack of kun. The tone she used was also different from the one she had always used. But he put that at the back of his mind for the moment. Tsunade growled. Where's that pervert when you need him, she thought, referring to Jiraiya. She was about to head in there when Naruto walked calmly to the front. She was about to yell at him to stop but then stopped herself. The brat obviously has something planned. She signaled for the other shinobi not to do anything. All the rookies minus Neji and Sakura were shocked and they saw Naruto, but shook it off. They could worry about that later. What are you planning for Naruto? Thought Kakashi. Sakura just looked worried. Let's see what you got Naruto, thought Neji. Fu watched on, interested in what her fellow Jinchuriki could do. Haiden stopped laughing as Naruto stopped a few feet away from him. You're it, he said mockingly. Seems no one else here has the balls then. His own package then felt like it was on fire, remembering the kick Fu had given him. The irony. Looks like I'm going to have to use that jutsu. Thought Naruto. Are you sure you want Konoha to find out about it? Asked Kurama. I still have the Rinnegan in your chakra that they don't know about, responded Naruto. True, admitted Kurama. You might want to hurry, said Kushina. Haiden readied his scythe and rushed at Naruto. Die. Naruto dodged all his strikes effortlessly. The shinobi could only watch wide-eyed, especially the rookies. Naruto took out a kunai and started to block some of Haiden's strikes. One wild swing gave the opening, and Haiden was kicked back. He didn't have time to recover as Naruto was on the offensive, but unlike Naruto, Haiden couldn't block Naruto's strikes. They were too fast for him. I don't think I'll have to, thought Naruto. He punched Haiden in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him and sending him flying back. He inserted wind chakra into his kunai and rushed at Haiden, who was just getting up. It was his last move. Haiden soon found himself in a similar situation with his head on the ground and off his body. Motherfucker, he screamed, remembering how Sasuke had done the same thing. Naruto calmly walked up to him and was about to finish him, and Tsunade intervened. That's enough, Naruto. We need him alive. Naruto shrugged before starting to walk back to the village. But something unexpected happened. All the shinobi started to clap and cheer. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What? Good job, brat, said Tsunade as she walked up next to him. Fu looked around. I don't get it, she thought, they don't hate him? That was so youthful, screamed Guy before he and Lee started to hug, crying tears of youthfulness. Tenten only backed away from them. Niji just scoffed before walking away. En Naruto-kun, thought Hinata. That's Naruto, said Kiba. Shino merely nodded. Troublesome blonde, muttered Shikamaru. Ino just elbowed him and Choji nodded. Naruto, thought Sakura. As Haiden was cursing at the umbu that had just arrived, how to say it. Carry him back to the interrogation department. Naruto was laughing within his mind, barely being able to not laugh in the real world. I can't fucking believe this, he thought as the shinobi were still cheering. Well? Asked Kurama. Well what? Said Naruto with narrowed eyes, not that anyone could notice at the moment. This doesn't change a thing. In fact, this will just make things sweeter. Worked like a charm, thought Obito as he watched everything from a distance. Now though. He made a hand sign and smirked. With that, Haiden's brain will crumble as soon as they try to get any information. Good thing I took that precaution in case they didn't kill him. Of course, once they did try to get anything Haiden would die, so it didn't matter either way. Obito shook his head. Well, on to my next target. Tsunade sighed. Well, that was certainly a fiasco, she thought. She then narrowed her eyes. But it proved to be useful. We might be able to get more information on Akatsuki now. Tsunade, said Jiraiya as he jumped through the window. As soon as he was in, he was forced to dodge a chair. What the hell? Where the fuck were you? Said Tsunade. Jiraiya blushed. Well, you see, after we left the bar last night, I met this. Alright, stop right there, interrupted Tsunade with a twitching eyebrow. In any case, it doesn't seem like you needed my help, continued Jiraiya. Is it true that Naruto did it himself? Tsunade nodded. Jiraiya whistled. It seems the brat can handle himself. The fact that he took Kakashi should have shown you that, retorted Tsunade, but we have a bigger problem. You're talking about the Jinchuriki, guessed Jiraiya. That's right, responded Tsunade. Hey, where is she? He asked, looking around. I already spoke to her before you got here. She told me what had happened. Well? Tsunade shrugged. It's not that surprising. Apparently her village didn't want anything to do with her, so they made a deal with Akatsuki for them to have her. She found out and escaped, but they managed to find her. She managed to trap one of them and not the other, and before she knew it she was here. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes. Assholes, but where is she? She asked me if she could stay with Naruto for the moment. At Jiraiya's grin, she added, not like that, you pervert. Since he's a Jinchuriki as well, she thought that he's the best choice to stay with since he could understand her. I decided there was no harm in it, so I agreed. You're thinking of letting her join Konoha, aren't you? Said Jiraiya, guessing what his old teammate was planning to do. Tsunade nodded. Of course. Which brings us to the problem. Danzo. Tsunade narrowed her eyes. That bastard will no doubt try something. That coward, hell, he wasn't even out there. Jiraiya sighed. Your best option is to put her on the same team with Naruto. If she thinks she feels more comfortable with him. My thoughts exactly. There's no way I'm going to let that bastard keep having his way. Let's just hope the council agrees with you. So that's why you're here. Fu nodded. Interesting, I thought I smelled Uchiha, said Kurama. I'm more surprised she doesn't have Umbu guarding her, Kushina pointed out. Tsunade must be focusing on extracting information out of Haiden, though I doubt they'll get anything. No doubt Obito planned something if this happened, said Kushina. There was a knock on Naruto's door, making a sad blonde sigh. After the little fiasco outside, Team Kakashi wasn't able to be dispatched. As such, Naruto came back to his apartment, only for the rookies to ask him if he wanted to join them for a little celebration, to which he declined. I only hope they don't come back. As he opened it, he was surprised to see Niji and Enko. Who is it? Asked Fu as she came into view. Enko grinned. Well, aren't you a playboy? She teased, making Fu blush. May we come in? Asked Niji. Naruto nodded and the two entered. As they settled around the one-room apartment, Naruto situated himself by the window. How did you know about each other? He asked Enko and Niji. We didn't, responded Niji. But once we saw each other coming to your house, well, we could guess, finished Enko. I take it she's on this, said Niji, pointing to Fu. Naruto nodded and turned to the three. Yes, but it's not just her. There's more. Enko and Niji just nodded and allowed for Naruto to continue while Fu listened as well, not knowing everything herself. Kushina, said Kurama as she made her way to be deeper in Naruto's mind. He made sure the link to Naruto was cut. What? Kurama shook his head at her tone. Never would have thought that you would fall for your son. Kushina turned her head away. That's not true. Kurama sighed. You're going to have to be true to yourself. And don't take it out on Naruto. If you do, you might lose the only chance at a relationship with him, be it mother to son or something else. Kushina stayed quiet before disappearing, a lot on her mind. Humans are complicated, thought the bijou to himself. Things are going better than I expected, thought Naruto as he looked at Niji, Enko, and Fu. Konoha will never know what hit them. So we have a deal? Anoki could only stare at the woman in front of him, in bewilderment. But can anyone truly blame him? Here she was, an Uchiha, a powerful one at that, it would seem, said to be dead from the incident known throughout the elemental nations as the Uchiha massacre that destroyed one of the most powerful clans in the world. And she was offering to join his village in exchange for offering support in taking down Konoha, home to the man that he hated the most. It would seem his luck was changing, and for the better. Of course, said Anoki with a smirk. He gave a glance to the group behind her, and internally smirked again. Two Jinchurikis, another Uchiha, an Uzumaki, and an upcoming apprentice of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Oh yeah, my luck is turning all right. Mikoto smiled. Then it's settled. Once this whole ordeal with Konoha is settled, we will join IWA. She had to fight with all her will to not laugh at Anoki's smirk. This proved to be easier than I expected. But then again, he's a power-hungry fool, so I shouldn't be so surprised. One last thing. Mikoto raised an eyebrow. That brat who was taking down my shinobi. Who was he again? He asked with suspicion and a bit of anger. After all, he had wanted to be the one to have killed that annoyance. Once again, Mikoto had to fight back a laugh. Oh, don't worry about that, she said with dismissal. He was no one. He just possessed an incredible camouflage jutsu, which is why your shinobi were taken care of so easily. Of course, something like that doesn't work against the Sharingan, Anoki hummed in thought. I suppose that's possible, he thought, although not entirely convinced, but decided to let the matter go. Very well. When will we start? Mikoto stood up with a smile. Don't worry. I'll contact you once everything is in place. Until then. She walked out of his office, the others following. Anoki smirked again as the door closed. Oh yes, the future seemed good for him. Too bad that in reality not everything is what it seems to be. I can't believe that Tsuchikage is that much of an idiot, thought Yujito as they made their way to the building. He's the power-hungry type. Men from his generation are all probably like that. Yujito mentally nodded in agreement to what her bijou had said. Something smart for a change. I resent that. Yujito didn't respond. Things are getting interesting, B. But that Uchiha woman cannot be trusted. B glanced at said woman walking in front of the group through his shades. I know that. But Big Bro agreed to this. And if he trusts her enough for him to be part of something this big, then I ain't gonna argue. The Hachibi sighed. That faith of yours is going to get you killed one of these days. B mentally smirked. What are you talking about, you fool? I'm the great killer B. Where? Hachibi could only sigh again at his host's antics. The rest of the trip out of the village was silent. Not that anyone minded, except for Nibi and Suigetsu. Once the group were a few miles out of the village, Mikoto stopped, which in turn made the others stop. She turned to them with a smirk. Alright, this part of the plan has been accomplished. Better than I expected really. Karen raised an eyebrow. You were expecting him to say no? She asked. Mikoto shrugged, remembering how she had to place a genjutsu on the raikage. That was a possibility. A possibility that I'm glad that didn't happen though. Or else I would have had to have done the same thing again, she thought with a mental frown and glanced at Yujito and B. And if that happened, those two could have gotten suspicious that maybe I had done the same to the raikage. What now? Asked Sasuke. Mikoto turned to her younger and remaining son. I have to get in contact with Obito and see if everything went according to plan as well as to see how Naruto is doing, she thought. But then again, Tobi already has 5 bijus in his possession, meaning he's going to come for us next unless we strike first. You three, she said out loud, referring to Sasuke, Karen, and Suigetsu, are going to sabotage Akatsuki. Sasuke was annoyed. I would have thought that we would be going to Konoha now. Mikoto sighed. There are many things that need to be done before that, Sasuke. Don't be impatient, or that will lead to your downfall. Sasuke decided to keep silent. Why are we messing with Akatsuki anyway? Asked Suigetsu. Mikoto merely took a single glance at him before answering. Unless you have forgotten what the Akatsuki are going after, then you should know why we need to do something about them. Suigetsu turned his head away to hide the embarrassed look on his face. Oh, should I feel insulted that I was referred to as a thing? Yujito mentally rolled her eyes. We both know you don't care about something like that. Nibi merely chuckled. She's an Uchiha alright. Muttered Hachibi. B didn't comment. Do we even know where they are? Asked Karen with a huff, annoyed. Mikoto raised an eyebrow in amusement. You don't. But I do. I thought you said you didn't care about Akatsuki, asked Sasuke. Mikoto chuckled. True. But don't forget that Itachi was part of it, and I did, or do, care about him. Among other things. She added mentally. And how do you get information about them? Asked Yujito, joining the conversation. Even Kumo hasn't been able to get a thing about them. That is irrelevant, answered Mikoto, her tone saying that that was the end of it. Yujito gritted her teeth, but didn't respond. Well? What do you want us to do? Asked Sasuke, ending the chance for the two women to get into another fight. Pity. Mikoto shrugged. Nothing special really. Just simply kill any of the members that you can. Suigetsu smirked. He liked the sound of that. And us? Asked Yujito, clearly annoyed. You will follow me so that we may join Obito at a specified location that I will lead you to, she answered. What will you do after that? Asked Sasuke. Mikoto smiled. Some things here and there. Now, this is the location. Kyubi. Chome. The Nanabai, or now identified as Chome, could only blink in confusion at the situation he was currently in, not that it wasn't unexpected. For one, the Kyubi, the same bijou that for hundreds probably thousands of years had never once associated with him or any of the other bijou after the Rikudo Sennin died. So for the bijou to have called him, well, that in itself was a great surprise. The other surprising thing was the fact that the Kyubi had called him by his real name that the Sennin had given him, And not the one that the other foolish humans had named him, or all of the other bijou for that matter. Chomei shook his head to clear away all those thoughts. "What do you want?" he asked, getting to the point. For Kyubi to have called him, it must be something important. And Kyubi never thought that anything was important. Well, besides being free at least, but that was something that all bijou desire. "Do you know where you currently are?" If Chomei had eyebrows, he would have raised them. "What do you mean?" "Wait." Kurama nodded his head once he saw that Chomei understood. "You are currently in Konoha." "That explains why we're able to communicate," thought Chomei, knowing for a fact that Konoha was where Kyubi had been sealed. After all, only a descendant of the Rikudo Sennin could be able to handle being the Jinchuriki for the Kyubi. And who was better than a member of the Uzumaki clan? The fact that I'm still sealed and that my chakra hasn't dispersed means that my host is still alive. That's right. What is she doing here? Let me ask you something first. Kurama paused. Do you have a good relationship with your host? Chomei scoffed at the question. Why would you ask that of all things, and the answer is pretty clear. I see. Chomei eyed him. Something is definitely different about Kyubi. Is that the only reason you contacted me? Kurama shook his head. No, but I'll get to that. As for the reason why your host is here is because of mine. What are you talking about? Do you remember what the old man promised us? Chomei froze at that. What are you trying to get at, Kyubi? He asked in a quiet voice. What I'm trying to get at is that his promise is true. Bullshit. Kurama sighed at Komiai's response. Although I would have probably said the same thing only a couple of years ago, he thought, a bit amused. But he turned serious. It's true. Chomei shook his head. I don't know what has gotten into you, but you should know that that is a dead promise and will never happen. Humanity has become nothing more than greedy, abusing the power that the Rikudo Sennin gave them. And now you expect me to believe that his promise can actually be true? I say bullshit. Kurama shrugged. Think of it as you may, but the fact still remains that it is true. And what possibly makes you think that? If only you had seen what I have. Chomei became more confused at that. What's that supposed to mean? Kurama shook his head. You will see in time. I would ask that you also support your host. I have no reason to do that, responded Chomei immediately, only if she is about to die. I will not help a human unless I have to. How about for a bit of freedom? Don't kid with me, Kyubi. Komiai's demonic chakra flared. I don't care how powerful you may think you are, but if you think I'll just stand for your games and be manipulated, then you're absolutely wrong. Kurama smirked at Komiai's anger. I'm not joking. I'm sure your host wouldn't mind letting you have access to her senses if you agree to lend her your chakra whenever she needs or wants it. I know how boring it can be when you're just trapped in a seal with nothing to do. Chomei glared at Kurama, who was still smirking. Chomei was currently tossing the idea in his mind, and in the end he decided there wasn't much harm in it, but there was no way in hell that he was about to say it out loud in front of Kurama. Although he didn't have to, Kurama could already see what his choice was. I'll inform her right away then. Do know that if you do break your part, you'll end up with nothing again. With that, Kurama cut the link, and Chomei could only flare his chakra in anger. Obito sighed as he walked through the underground hideout, the place bringing many memories, some which he'd rather forget. I haven't been here for years, he thought, since there wasn't a need for it. Not to mention I'd rather not remember some things that this place reminds me of. Obito shook his head and concentrated on finding what he was looking for. Where did he say he had left it again? Oh yeah, in the library. One of the places which I would never go to, he thought with a chuckle as he made his way towards the library. After a few minutes of navigating through the old hideout, he reached his destination. The doors parted as he walked inside, scanning the room before moving towards the center where a single scroll was placed. He picked it up and read the name, Secrets of the Rinnegan. Obito chuckled, remembering the confusion he had when he had left it here. You will know why when the time comes, he had said. And boy did he know. Well, technically it was Mikoto who figured it out first. But how she knew of its existence was a mystery to Obito. How does she know all of this, he asked himself before he smirked. Oh well, there is something that she definitely does not know. I wonder how she would react if she ever did find out though. He chuckled a bit more before placing the scroll into his ninja pouch and teleported. He reappeared above ground and stretched before yawning. If I head to the rendezvous point now I would be extremely early unless I walked there. But I'm feeling rather lazy right now. He looked around before spotting a tree branch high enough with a perfect shade. Obito smirked. Nap time. 2 days later. It's finally finished. About time, Ah, come on senpai. We got to spend time together without someone else trying to kill us. Isn't that fun? Toby, shut up. Pain silently sighed as he watched the two bicker. I can't believe they're still alive. Pain focused his attention towards Kakuzu or Kakuzu in hologram form. He had communicated with them about 2 days ago, and explained what exactly had happened. In all honesty, it was a good story, but he could tell that Toby was suspicious. But he couldn't really do anything since sealing the Sanbai took precedence. Of course they didn't have any evidence to disprove him, but Pain would make sure to keep a closer eye on him from now on. It was also thanks to his arrival that sealing the Sanbai was completed faster though. His train of thought and Deidara and Toby's argument were cut off as footsteps could be heard from the tunnel that led to the entrance of the cave. As soon as Zetsu emerged, he knew who it was. So he's here. Once he was completely inside the cave, Kabuto smirked as he gazed at the Geto Mazo. It's larger than I thought. It seems you were successful, commented Pain to Zetsu. White Zetsu chuckled. Of course. Black Zetsu didn't comment. And who is this? Asked Kakuzu. Pain glanced at him. He's your new partner, he answered. Both Kabuto and Kakuzu frowned at that although it wasn't noticeable on Kakuzu. This will be a hindrance, thought Kabuto before subtly glancing at Toby. So that's him. Welcome to Akatsuki, said Pain, not really in the best welcome voice. There's still something that needs to be taken care of before that, said Kabuto with a chuckle. You may go, said Pain to Kakuzu. I will inform you later as to what your next task will be. Kakuzu merely nodded before disappearing. Deidara, and Toby, you two as well. Deidara let out a before jumping down from the statue and walking out of the cave, not bothering to see if Toby was following him. Make sure he doesn't eavesdrop, said Pain to Zetsu, who nodded before they sank to the ground. Toby, Pain, and Konan jumped as the statue disappeared and landed in front of Kabuto. I take it you're Uchiha Madara? Asked Kabuto with a smirk. Orochimaru, thought Toby with anger, how much did you know? Yes, he answered calmly. Now, what exactly is it that you want from us? Of course Toby already knew, but it worked better for him if Kabuto didn't know that. Kabuto shrugged. Not much really. All I want is Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke is none of our concern, said Pain. Kabuto tilted his head and chuckled. True, but Uchiha Mikoto is. Toby's eyes narrowed. And what would you know of her? Not much really, admitted Kabuto, but I do know that you want her out of the picture. I help you deal with her and you help me get Sasuke. We don't need your help with something as trivial as that, stated Konan with an emotionless voice. Kabuto smirked and brought his hands together and coffins rose out of the ground. This is... thought Toby with his Sharingan activated. Then let me extend my offer. I currently have in my possession many shinobi that will help Akatsuki and hunt the remaining bijou. I know for a fact that you still have yet to collect 4 of the bijou. The Edo Tensei, said Pain. Toby chuckled, making Kabuto frown. What is it? Nothing. It would seem we have reached an agreement then. Kabuto readjusted his glasses. Yes. I help you deal with Uchiha Mikoto and capture the rest of the bijou, and you in turn give me Sasuke. Of course, answered Toby with another chuckle. Kabuto frowned again before covering it up. The coffins disappeared and he turned towards the exit. Where will I meet Kakuzu? Zetsu will show you, answered Pain. I will soon inform you who your first target is. Kabuto didn't respond, instead opting to just keep walking. Once they were sure he was gone, Conan spoke. I don't trust him. Toby shrugged. It's not a matter of trust. We are simply using him. Once he has done everything we need him to do, we will kill him. He turned to Pain. Soon you will head out to capture the Kyuubi. And the Uchiha woman? Asked Pain. Kabuto will deal with her. With that, Toby made his way out of the cave as well, many thoughts plaguing his mind. I can't fucking believe this. What? The fact that this village is full of idiots or that you haven't done a single thing in the last 2 days? Naruto sighed. A bit of both in fact, although I wouldn't say that I haven't done anything. Currently we find our whiskered blonde lying on his bed in his apartment. A common sight the past 2 days. Humming could be heard coming from the bathroom, and that was due to Fu, who was taking a very long bath. It was currently nighttime once more. You're talking about the council meeting? Exactly, well that was 3 nights ago, so it's before the 2 days in which you really haven't done a single thing. Naruto snorted but decided that the fox had a point. After the whole fiasco with Haiden, Tsunade had made it her first priority to try to get any information from Haiden. It backfired. As soon as Yamanaka Inoichi, the clan head of the Yamanaka clan and one of the best shinobi to be able to extract information from anyone, tried to go inside Haiden's mind, Haiden's brain started to fall apart immediately. It happened so fast that they had no chance to try to save it. I'm sure Obito had something to do with that. Obviously. Unless that happens to everyone nowadays, then it was the dirty work of the Uchiha. Since it was obvious that no information could be extracted from Haiden, the council turned to its next important issue, which was Fu. Naruto could only chuckle as he remembered what had happened and the opportunity it gave him. Flashback. Hokage-sama, you can't seriously allow this thing into the village. Tsunade rubbed her temples as the civilian council continued to rant about how the village could be placed in danger and blah, blah, blah. They're lucky I didn't kill them myself, she thought darkly. The Shinobi Council could be described to be in the same position as Tsunade. Tsunade couldn't believe how much power the Sandame had lost after coming to power again after the Yondame had died to even allow for the civilians to have a say on shinobi matters. You better watch what you say, Councilman, said Naruto darkly. Currently Fu was clinging to his left arm as if her life depended on it, which kinda did. And what are you even doing here, boy, said the council member with disgust. He was one of the wealthiest men of the village, owning most of the important shops in the village. And with wealth came fatness. A lot of it. He's here because I say so, Tsunade said with a glare to the council member, making said person shut up. It does bring the point that he has no right to be here, commented Hamura, all the civilian council agreeing. I gave him that right. Is that good enough for you, said Tsunade with killer intent. Just like the other council member, Hamura didn't say another word. Enough of this, said Danzo from his position. We are here to decide what to do with the Jinchuriki. Naruto's hands became fists. He wanted nothing more than to just kill the man right there. Hell, everyone. But now wasn't the time, he told himself. And what do you suggest? Asked Tsunade, trying with all her best to not let some sarcasm show. It's obvious, said Danzo as he gazed at Fu, we should keep her since her village obviously does not want her back. There's the chance of them denying that and declaring war because of this, said Inuzuka Tsum. Danzo scoffed. We all know that Taki doesn't have the military prowess for that. I agree, said Hyuga Hayashi. One by one all the clan heads nodded in agreement. The civilian council for their part decided to keep quiet on this even though they wanted nothing more than to just kill Fu, but because Danzo was agreeing. Then they better agree too. It wasn't like I wanted her to return, thought Tsunade, but here comes the tricky part. So she stays then, said Akimichi Choza with a smile. If I may, began Danzo, making both Naruto and Tsunade narrow their eyes, would suggest that it would be best if you let me train her. Oh, said Tsunade with a raised eyebrow. And why exactly should I do that? For Konoha's security, he answered calmly. If she learns how to control her bijou, it would be an even more advantage. The civilian council agreed immediately and the shinobi council seemed to be contemplating the idea. Tsunade gritted her teeth in anger and Danzo looked pleased. I don't think that will be necessary, said Naruto with a smile. All attention turned to him. Danzo narrowed his one visible eye on the boy. And why won't that be necessary? Asked Hayashi. Naruto shrugged. Simply because she already knows how to control the powers of the Nanabi. So for Danzo to train her for that seems pointless. Danzo's grip on his cane doubled, almost making his hand bleed. Is it true? Asked Narashikaku. Fu nodded from her position next to Naruto, already knowing what to say. Yes. And how do you know this? Asked Aburame Shibi to Naruto. She told me, answered Naruto. So they trust each other, thought Tsunade with a smile. It would seem pointless then, muttered Shikaku with a yawn. The rest of the council agreed with Shikaku. Hamura and Koharu shared a look before looking at Danzo. To anyone else it would seem that he was as calm as ever. But they knew better. He was pissed. Naruto then wrapped his arms around Fu's waist, making said girl blush. She can stay with me then. I'm sure none of you disagree? He asked the Shinobi Council, respectively, to make the clan heads look at Naruto with respect. Now wait just a minute, began another member of the civilian council as he stood up. Tsunade simply raised her hand to stop the council member. I'm sorry to say that you have no say in this matter. You and the rest of the civilian council are even lucky to be present at all in this meeting. And what of the boy? He has no right either. He's a Jinchuriki as well, stated Tsunade, so I believe that gives him more rights than you. Not to add the fact that I also authorized him to be here. The council member just bit his tongue and sat back down. Tsunade then turns to Naruto and Fu. It's settled then. Fu, starting today you are a kunoichi of Konoha. To Fu, that didn't matter. All she wanted was to stay close to Naruto. Danzo stood up and walked away, Naruto smirking at his retreating back along with Tsunade. Flashback, end. Naruto was still chuckling. Yes, although it's too bad he didn't have any of his umbu with him. At that time. Naruto smirked. Flashback. Danzo was pissed. He had never been so pissed in his entire life. Well, not since Hiruzen became the Hokage. But that's beside the point at the moment. After being denied the Kyuubi, he thought he was being retributed by having the chance to get the Nanabi. But that was shot down, by a lousy brat at that. He's definitely up to something, thought Danzo angrily as he reached his destination not noticing he was being followed. He was currently inside an abandoned warehouse in the poor section of the village. One of his root umbu appeared before him, kneeled. Danzo-sama, said the umbu, clearly male, in an emotionless voice. From now on, I want you to spy on Uzumaki Naruto. Everything he does, who he talks to, and such. Is that clear? Said Danzo. The umbu nodded. Yes, Danzo-sama. Danzo nodded, satisfied, and headed out of the warehouse and on to his home. From the rooftop across, Naruto smirked as he crouched and watched Danzo walk away. It could be so simple to kill you right now, but I want not to only kill you, but take down your whole root operation as well and watch the look on your face when I do, he thought as he turned his attention to the Umbu who was now on the rooftop of the warehouse. In an instant, Naruto was then behind the Umbu, and kicked him back into the building from the roof. The Umbu made to get up, but then he found himself being held by his neck and staring into blood-crimson eyes. Yes. You'll do. Nobody heard the screams. Flashback, end. And to think I've never been good at genjutsu. I'm a master of illusions, brat. I just never bothered with them. Besides, you don't have to worry about being caught in a genjutsu anymore since I'm here. I know, and thank Kami for that. The bathroom door then opened and Fu walked out wearing a simple towel. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her. I would have thought that you would be embarrassed to wear just that. Fu shrugged. Not really. There's nothing for me to be embarrassed about. Naruto raised another eyebrow as she walked towards him. I want to thank you. For treating me as just me. She was looking down at him and Naruto liked the view. And how are you going to do that? Fu smiled as she shook the towel off. Kurama was grumbling to himself. One naked girl comes by and he completely forgets about me. Humans. But then he shook his head. But it's a relief that I'm not sealed in a woman anymore, he thought, remembering how in the few moments that he did get to feel what was going on out in the real world when he was sealed in both Mito and Kushina, it was during that. It was not comfortable. His tails covered his ass protectively. And now Chome. He added with a chuckle. What's so funny? Asked Kushina as she walked in his chamber. Where have you been? Asked Kurama back. Kushina sighed. I was thinking. I see. Where's Naruto-kun? Kurama looked around, anywhere, but at Kushina. He's indisposed. Kushina narrowed her eyes before they widened. You mean? Kurama nodded. Yes. The brat is doing the deed. Kushina looked down before looking Kurama in the eye. Is there any way for me to have a real body again? Kurama eyed her. I don't know. Me and Naruto were thinking of how, but as of now we got nothing. Kushina nodded before she started to walk away. She stopped when Kurama spoke again. Are you okay with this? Kushina merely nodded. Of course. Even if I wasn't, I have no right to say anything. She then disappeared. Kurama held out his right paw. There's Fu, Anko, Kushina, possibly that blonde that has Matatabi, and Mikoto. Kurama whistled. The brat is something. Mikoto had an expressionless look on her face as she gazed at Konoha from the Hokage mountain. So I'm back, she thought. In her possession was the scroll that Obito had taken with him. Currently, he along with Yujito and B were on the hunt for Kabuto. The longer he stayed alive, the more problems it would bring. It would be better if he was killed now. It would solve many problems in the future. She focused her gaze at what used to be the compound of the Uchiha clan. Instinctively, memories of that night began to flood her mind. So what do you say? But how? He should be dead. He, don't worry about it. If you accept, you'll know everything. And the others? They serve no purpose. Don't tell me you actually care about them. But little Sasu. He'll live. Itachi won't kill him, and I can assure you that nothing will happen to him afterwards. How can you be so sure? I'm his will. He told me everything. No matter what, Sasuke will be safe, for now. And Fugaku? Like I said, he serves no purpose. So will you come to Uchiha Mikoto? Mikoto smiled. Best choice I ever made. Uzumaki Naruto, you have lost your purpose. What is this? Where am I? Do not worry. In time you will come to realize everything. What are you talking about? Who are you? That is not important. First you will have to choose which path you will take. Heh, I'm pretty sure I have already chosen what I want to do. Perhaps, but there are still many obstacles blocking your objective, and many secrets. That won't stop me. Prove it. Naruto stood up into a sitting position, panting and sweating. He controlled his breathing rate and looked around and realized that he was in his apartment on his bed. He turned to the window and saw that it was still dark outside. Movement caught his peripherals, and he turned to look to his right and saw the smiling face of Fu. What had happened a few hours earlier rushed to his brain. The blonde silently sighed before laying back down and bringing Fu closer to him, causing said girl to sigh happily in her sleep. Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated, and when he opened them, he was standing within the sewer that made up his subconscious. He walked into one of the many tunnels and appeared into the room that Kurama resided in. Said fox was currently resting his head on his paws, eyes closed. He opened one eye before closing it when he saw who it was. Is there any reason for you to be here right now? Naruto sighed as he walked closer to the bijou. You mean you don't know about the dream I just had? Kurama opened both eyes at this. No, I don't. Mind enlightening me? Naruto shrugged as he jumped on top of the bijou's head and laid down. Not much. I was just standing in what looked like a white room and this voice telling me how I lost my purpose. Oh, said Kurama in surprise. Now that is interesting. I'm not going insane, am I? Kurama snorted. I'm sure you reached that a while ago. Naruto chuckled. Maybe. But I wonder who it could be? And what does it mean, saying I lost my purpose? Purpose, huh, thought Kurama. Could that have been? In any case I suppose I can move to the next step of the plan, continued Naruto. Kurama decided to put the vision into the back of his mind for the moment. Already? I would have thought that you might have waited a bit more. I already have Anko, Niji, and now Fu in the village, not to mention the root Umbu who is now basically my very own puppet. Disrupting Danzo's plans and killing him afterwards are now much easier. So how are you going to leave the village? I doubt that they will just let you leave. No, there's one thing before that I need to do. Which is giving Ka-san her own body. Speaking of her, where is she? Kurama shrugged. No idea. But how are you planning on doing that? I'm not completely sure yet, and that's what's annoying me. Naruto brought his hands to his eyes. The Rinnegan is supposed to be something godly, right? At Kurama's nod, he continued. Isn't there some jutsu that can solve this problem then? I'm not sure. The information I gave you and the jutsus you learned are just the tip of the iceberg on what the Rinnegan can do. Take the ability to see through time that Madara possessed if what Mito said is true. That's something that I didn't know could be possible. Do you think the Rikudo Sennin figured them all out? I don't know, to be honest. But it wouldn't surprise me if the old man had figured them all out. Say, how did the Rikudo Sennin gain the Rinnegan anyway? That is something that I do not know. Too bad. That would have been something interesting to know. Yes. It would. Kurama paused and so did Naruto. We have company. Naruto merely narrowed his eyes. Twitch. Once. Twice. 3 times. Mikoto's hands and eyes twitched at the sight before her. And what sight could that be? Can anyone guess? No? Too bad. Naruto opened his eyes in the real world, and stood up in a sitting position once again, making Fu silently whine at the loss of closeness. Naruto looked at the spot where Mikoto was standing, an annoyed look on her face. Seems you've been busy. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her tone, but didn't dwell on it. He did, however, take notice to the fact that he wasn't wearing anything under the bed covers. He wasn't sure how Mikoto would react to that, so he decided to keep quiet about it. You could say that, he answered. What are you doing here? He asked, switching topics. Are you tired of me already? She said with a bit of amusement. Naruto sighed. You know what I mean. It's dangerous for you to be here. Ah, so you do care, said Mikoto, chuckling. But don't worry. The Uchiha clan had many underground tunnels running throughout the village. I just used one and sneaked in. I would have thought that security might have been tighter because of what happened with Haiden, but apparently not. You still haven't told me why you're here, he pointed out. Mikoto merely threw a scroll at him, Naruto catching it. He eyed it. What is this? Mikoto smirked. That is to help you solve any problems and questions you have regarding the Rinnegan. Naruto's eyes snapped in interest when he heard that. But something else came to mind. Where did you get this? Someone left it for us, she answered, not trying to answer the question directly. Someone, huh, thought Naruto, his mind racing. That could only be Madara, finished Naruto with an internal smirk. If she thinks she can keep me in the dark, she's gravely mistaken. Don't let her know that though. This will be helpful, said Naruto out loud, setting the scroll aside. The next thing he knew, he was back lying down on his bed, Mikoto on top of him. You think I don't know that you're naked under there? Naruto for his part could only stare at the woman on top of him. What are you doing? Mikoto shrugged. Considering what you did with Fu, I'm sure you know. That caused Naruto to turn his head to look at Fu, who was still miraculously still asleep. Naruto's sweat dropped. She's a heavy sleeper all right. That, or you literally put her in a pleasure-induced coma. Naruto mentally rolled his eyes at his bijou. A hand grabbing his package brought him to reality. Don't be spacing out on me. Brat, don't you dare do it. But Naruto was no longer listening to him. He only focused all his attention on the woman on top of him. He grabbed the back of her head and brought her lips to his. Brat. Where were you? Sorry Deidara-senpai. But you were so fast that I couldn't find you. So I had to. Enough, Toby chuckled sheepishly and rubbed the back of his head, making Deidara teach-ed in annoyance. The two were currently walking down a path in one of the many forests in the Land of Fire. We need to get going, Toby, Well, where are we going to go, senpai? Leader Sama said to wait for his instructions. Forget that, I have a bone to pick with Uchiha Sasuke, Sasuke? But he's not a Jinchuriki. I don't care, That little brat took my chance to kill Orochimaru. And now that Itachi is gone, there's no one that can protect that little brat, But what about that other Uchiha that is his mother, senpai? Deidara snorted. She's nothing. Toby's eyes narrowed, not that Deidara noticed. Well, how are you going to find him, senpai? Before he could answer, the two were suddenly forced to dodge a Chidori as Sasuke appeared where they had been just a few moments ago. Deidara grinned as he landed. It seems you saved me the trouble of finding you, Uchiha. Sasuke merely let out a humph, his Sharingan activated. Wow. Sasuke turned to the other Akatsuki members present. You're fast. And you look just like Itachi-senpai. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. So this is the fake Madara. I wonder who he truly is though. Ka-san never told me. Both Suigetsu and Karen landed behind Sasuke. You could have waited for us. Muttered Suigetsu in annoyance, but Sasuke paid him no mind. Oi! Don't ignore me, screamed Deidara. He's a nuisance, thought Sasuke as he readied his sword and rushed at Deidara at an incredible speed, but Deidara was prepared for it as he jumped outwards. He grinned as he tossed his clay-shaped as spiders down towards Sasuke. Katsu. Toby whistled. Good job, senpai. Sasuke, screamed Karen in worry. Suigetsu merely sighed. Does she really think that would have killed him? He asked himself. Deidara's grin was still present as he landed a few feet away from the blast radius. And to think that you were able to kill Orochimaru. It must have been Dash. I've been meaning to test this out, interrupted Sasuke's voice from within the dust cloud. Deidara's grin vanished as he gazed at what appeared to be a purple skeleton form surrounding Sasuke, who was unharmed. So this is Sasuke's Susanoo, thought Toby. Karen sighed in relief and Suigetsu scoffed. Show off. Deidara narrowed his eyes. What is that? Sasuke shrugged. You'll be dead soon, so there's no reason for me to explain anything to you. Don't underestimate me, screamed Deidara as he took a large amount of his clay and brought it towards his mouth where he began to chew. Toby, already knowing what was coming, took to the trees, putting as much distance as possible. Karen and Suigetsu took the hint and proceeded to do the same thing. Sasuke for his part became interested as Deidara spewed out a giant version of himself. Time to die. He jumped and one of his infamous clay birds appeared and he jumped on top, taking to the skies. Katsu. Sasuke expected a giant explosion, but instead the gigantic version just seemed to fall apart. Did it fail? Deidara smirked at Sasuke's confused look. Sasuke for his part, understood what the jutsu actually did once all the animals in the area began to disintegrate. I see, thought Sasuke, this would have caused a problem, but not anymore. Deidara's smirk vanished when he noticed that none of his microscopic bombs were able to enter Sasuke's bloodstream. But why? Is it whatever that purple thing is? Sasuke's Susanoo began to change, taking on armor. What? Thought Deidara alarmed. The Susanoo readied its bow and launched its arrow towards Deidara. Deidara's clay bird was pierced, causing Deidara to jump off. In midair, he had no way of dodging a second arrow attack. Fast, he thought as his left arm was pierced. He landed on the ground hard, coughing out blood. It's over, stated Sasuke as he walked up to Deidara's down form, Susanoo disappearing. What is that jutsu? Asked Deidara again. Sasuke shrugged again. Like I said, there's no reason to tell you. Amaterasu. Deidara's screams could be heard throughout the forest as the black flames consumed him. Toby chuckled as he watched everything from a safe distance. That Mikoto, she's even more crafty than I thought. But I could use this to my advantage. If I can convince Sasuke. I know you're out there, said Sasuke. Toby chuckled as he appeared before Sasuke. I take it you know who I am, he asked in his normal voice. Yes. Which is why you're going to die. Amaterasu. Toby only chuckled again as the black flames hit him, not affecting him in the least. What? Thought Sasuke. Is that all you got? Asked Toby. Sasuke narrowed his eyes as his Susanoo appeared again. Toby tilted his head. You sure aren't very creative, are you? But the question still remains, will you join me? Sasuke snorted. Of course not. What gave you the idea that I would? Toby shrugged. It was worth asking. Do know that now you have made yourself an enemy out of me. Till next time, Sasuke. With that, Toby disappeared. Sasuke sighed as his Susanoo disappeared again. At least I was able to get something on his abilities. But just what kind of jutsu was that? He turned towards the pile of ash that was once Deidara. And I did take care of another Akatsuki member. That's one less problem. Both Suigetsu and Karen reappeared again. Well? Did you get the other one? Asked Suigetsu. Sasuke merely started to walk towards where his mother had said the Akatsuki base was, ignoring Suigetsu. Let's see if anyone else is left over there. Naruto teached in annoyance as the sun's first rays hit him through the window. Annoying sun. As he made to get up, he felt weight on both of his arms, preventing him from doing so. He turned to his right, and Fu was still asleep, holding onto his right arm with an ever-present smile on her face. And when he turned to his left, he was greeted by Mikoto's sleeping face, who was holding onto his left arm and placed it on her breasts. A knock on the door prevented him from enjoying the sight any longer. He substituted with a pillow, put on a pair of boxers and made his way to the door. He opened it partially and was greeted by Sakura's smiling face. Crap, good morning, Naruto. Aware of the fact that two naked women were currently lying on his bed, Naruto made the best calm polite voice he could muster. Sakura. What a surprise. What are you doing here? Tsunade-sama has cleared our team for a mission now that things have calmed down, she answered. Oh, and she said to tell you that someone named Fu needs to be there also, she added as an afterthought. Naruto nodded. Got it. Not waiting for a response, he closed the door. He made his way back to his bed where he looked at the two sleeping women. Now, how to wake them? He decided for a simple calling of their names and clapping his hands. Okay, get up you two. We have work to do. Both groaned before slowly sitting up. Fu rubbed her eyes before taking notice of Mikoto, who was stretching, naked. Who are you? She asked, clearly confused. The last thing she remembered, well, you all probably know. Mikoto let out a small yawn before answering. I'm Mikoto. We've already kinda met, but that was through hologram communication. Fu's eyes widened at that. So you're Mikoto? At her nod, Fu blinked her eyes in confusion. Okay, then what are you doing here? And naked? Mikoto chuckled. I presume for the same reason you're also naked, she said, pointing towards Naruto, who was searching for his pants. Fu blushed. So they did it while I was asleep? Yes, we did. Fu's face turned completely red. Mikoto chuckled again as she got out of bed, not caring that she was completely naked. What's going on? She asked Naruto, who finally found his pants. I have a mission along with Fu. Well, I don't know what you're going to do. Mikoto shrugged. There's not much at the moment. Naruto eyed her. Well, you should know that I'm not planning on staying in the village much longer. Oh? And why is that? She asked. Because, he said simply, not offering an explanation. So he's not telling me everything, she thought. I suppose I should have expected that. Fu, get ready, said Naruto. Fu, who finally came out of her embarrassment, nodded. Well then, said Mikoto, I guess I should be going as well. She picked her clothes that were all around the room, before walking up to Naruto and giving him a kiss. Thanks for a good night, she added with a wink and disappeared. Did she just leave, naked? Thought Naruto, amused. You motherfucking sex-craved idiot. Naruto sighed. Good morning to you too, Kurama. Don't give me any of that. You fucked her. And, well. Exactly, Obito could only chuckle as he stared at the duo in front of him. I must say that this has been a good surprise. Surprise my ass, thought Kakuzu as he and Kabuto stared at Obito alongside Yujito and B, who were a few feet away. I must say that I didn't expect you to find us this quickly, commented Kabuto as he readjusted his glasses with a frown. He glanced at Kabuto through his peripherals. Could he have sold us out? Obito shrugged. The element of surprise is a strong tool to have on your side. Now though, I must ask kindly that you die. Yujito's sweat dropped at that, and B nodded his head in agreement to what Obito had said. Are all Uchiha crazy? Asked Yujito. Kakuzu snorted and Kabuto shook his head. Honestly, you of the Uchiha clan are too arrogant, said Kabuto. Oh, and you're one to talk, retorted Obito. The only difference though is that I can back that arrogance up. Kabuto narrowed his eyes. We'll see about that. His hands came together, and 4 coffins rose once more. They opened, and Asuma, Hei-8, and 2 other shinobi came out. Yujito and B readied themselves. The 4 dead shinobi went in at the trio, intent on taking them down. Asuma went for Obito, but all his strikes missed as they just went through Obito. He took hold of Asuma's shoulders and spun him around and flung him backwards. The other 3 went for Yujito and B. B for his part activated his chakra cloak, Mode 1, Lariat. He took the heads off of Hay-8 and one of the unnamed dead shinobi. Yujito gracefully dodged the kicks and punches from one of the unnamed dead shinobi thanks to her flexibility. She caused her element of lighting through her body, and much like Chidori Nagashi, sent a powerful current to the dead shinobi who flew back. Obito rushed at Kabuto. "Kuchios!" screamed Kabuto. Obito disappeared with his teleportation as Kabuto summoned. Kabuto narrowed his as he stood on top of the enhanced version of Manda. Much like it said, this Manda was more powerful than the last and more obedient after Kabuto had dealt with him. All he had wanted were blood samples. But did he comply? No. Where is he? Thought Kabuto as he looked around. The 4 revived shinobi were currently regenerating their damage done to each of their bodies. There's no need for me to get involved, thought Kakuzu from the ground as he looked up to where Kabuto was standing. It seems you don't know anything about my abilities, said a voice behind Kabuto. Kabuto turned as quickly as possible but there was no one there. TCH. Manda, where is he? The summoned Manda looked around, trying to find a scent, but he couldn't. What's going on? Thought Kabuto. A large explosion to his right caught his attention and he turned only to come face to face to a giant octopus. The Hachibi. Let's get this party started. Where? Screamed B in his tailed beast form. Must you say that while you're in my form? Grumbled Hachibi from within B's mind, making said shinobi smirk. This could cause problems, thought Kabuto. The next thing he knew, he was standing in the air. His eyes widened in alarm, and then stayed like that as octopus tentacles quickly came at him. Kakuzu smirked as he watched everything before he was forced to dodge a kick. He jumped back and quickly came face to face with Yujito. You're out of your league here, little girl. Yujito's right eye twitched. Little girl. Oh yes, kitten. Can I come out to play? Kakuzu continued, not noticing how the woman's anger in front of him continued to rise. You should have just ran away. In the end, we still would have caught you, but you would have lived a few more days, or weeks, or so. He stopped as he felt demonic chakra. He shielded his eyes as dirt and wind began to pick up. He didn't notice the tail till it was too late. He was slapped back with a great force. Yujito's face showed pure anger. I'll show you who should have ran away, she screamed. Me and my mouth, thought Kakuzu as he stood up. Where is he? Said B as he looked around. All I killed were snakes. A substitution, said Hachibi, and here I thought we were going to be faster than that. That regeneration is slow, thought Kabuto from his hidden spot on one of the trees. Due to the Hachibi literally destroying every piece of their body, the 4 dead shinobi were still regenerating their lost body parts. I'm going to have to bring out tougher ones. He didn't get to think much more as he was suddenly forced to dodge a fireball. Fire style, Gokakyu. There he is, said B as he made his way to where Kabuto jumped from. Obito stood on the ground, as he had launched the fireball. He sighed. I was hoping to make this a bit more interesting but apparently Kabuto doesn't want to play. Oh well, might as well kill him now. His train of thought came to a stop as he heard a scream in pure agony. He turned to look back and raised an eyebrow as Kakuzu was being manhandled by a very pissed off Yujito. Damn. Who's a weak little girl now, huh? Screamed Yujito in her chakra cloak as she continued her assault on Kakuzu. One strong punch and Kakuzu was sent flying back. Kakuzu painted from his spot on the ground. I'm down to 2 hearts, from punches alone. I really shouldn't have said anything. Why isn't Obito calling her off? Yujito was on her all fours. Is this all you can do? Now that pissed Kakuzu off. He stood up and tore what remained of what was his new Akatsuki cloak. All I have is fire and lighting. Gotta make it work. The lighting mask took the form of a strange thing and went to Yujito. It launched lightning at her in the shape of a spear. Yujito immediately disappeared from her spot and was on the thing's right side. Lighting style, Jibashi. Due to Nibi's chakra enhancing all of Yujito's attacks, the thing was immediately destroyed from the strong stream of lighting. Now Kakuzu was nervous. He was down to one heart. And the last time that had happened was when he had fought the Shodai Hokage. I need to get out of here, he thought worriedly. But didn't get a chance as Yujito was in front of him again and sent a powerful kick to his stomach. Kakuzu hunched forward from the kick. To finish this. Kakuzu's eyes widened as the skin on Yujito's body began to disappear, and the Yuki started to become more powerful. She's going into her Bijou mode, thought Kakuzu in alarm before he was consumed in the flames that made Nibi's body. Obito sighed once he saw Kakuzu die. A shame, but oh well. He was expendable. Kabuto was in his situation. Two Jinchuriki, who apparently had full control of their respective Bijou and were in their Bijou mode, and an Uchiha who apparently could not be hit by any attacks. Oh, and his so-called partner was dead. Kabuto started to sweat. Time to retreat. He thought as he made a hand sign. Oh no you don't, screamed B as he tried to hit him with his tentacle attack again but was not fast enough. Damn. Obito looked to the spot where Kabuto had been last. Coward. Naruto was currently smirking to himself as he hopped from tree to tree. He, along with Fu, the rest of Team Kakashi and Team 8-Kurenai and a guy who Naruto heard was named Yamato, were on their way to their mission objective. With this our problems are solved, the thought having read the scroll during their stops. So you're going to do it? Asked Kushina with hope. Of course, but I'm going to need some sacrifices. Naruto then shook his head. Crap, I just sounded like that moron Haiden. Kurama chuckled before turning serious. Are you sure about this? What you're going to do? If Madara could do it, so can I, interrupted Naruto. Well you're lucky you're going to one of Orochimaru's old bases then, said Kushina with a smile, I'm sure we will be able to get this done there. And here I thought that Senju woman wasn't going to send you out on a high-ranked mission like this, pointed out Kurama. Yeah, me too, but it has worked to our advantage. You will need to do this quietly, suggested Kushina. Naruto shook his head. There's no point after this. Niji and Enko already know what to do and I can control the root Umbu at any time even if I'm not in the village. Besides, Konoha was going to find out eventually and I'm growing rather bored lately. Kushina sighed at that. Bored he says. The rest of the trip was silent. Eventually the team made it to what appeared to be the entrance to the underground base. Alright, said Kakashi, according to Jiraiya-sama. This is it here. Is there anyone present? Asked Kiba. Hinata, instructed Kakashi. Said girl nodded before activating her Byakugan. A few seconds passed before she answered. There seems to be some shinobi present, she reported, surprisingly calm. But mainly civilians who seem to be trapped in prison cells. Kakashi nodded in thanks. That's surprising, said Yamato, I would have expected no shinobi present since Orochimaru died. Kakashi shrugged. Who knows? He turned to the whole team. Alright. We will be going on teams of 2. Hinata, you're with Shino. Kiba, you're with me. Yamato and Naruto will be another. And finally Sakura and Fu. Everyone nodded except for Naruto and Fu. I was hoping to get paired with Fu so I can tell her what to do. But no choice. He walked up to Fu, who was upset at being paired with Sakura. She was so upset that she didn't notice Naruto until he engulfed her in a hug. Gasps could be heard, mainly from Sakura and Hinata, but Naruto didn't pay them any thought. Both Kakashi and Yamato just raised an eyebrow, with Kakashi chuckling. Shino was expressionless, and Kiba grumbled. Why does he get the hot chick? Good luck, Fu, he whispered into her ear. Fu knew what he meant as he discreetly handed her a note. She merely nodded. All right, break it up, said Kakashi, but was smiling. You two can have time after the mission. Fu blushed, but Naruto internally smirked. Heh, I'm not so sure about after the mission, but I wouldn't mind. You are really impossible, aren't you? Naruto didn't bother to offer a response to the bijou. Naruto was getting impatient as he walked the dark and empty corridors. It had been a good 30 minutes since the team had split up, and so far he and Yamato had encountered no one and nothing. How big is this place? Wondered Naruto. The other annoying factor was that every corridor was the same. How anyone could find his way through this was beyond Naruto's understanding. But then his prayers were answered as he and Yamato walked into a room that appeared to be some sort of small prison. A single Oto shinobi was present. Once he had seen them, he brought out a kunai. Hold it. Who are you? He asked. The civilians, for their part, who were trapped behind cells, began to get their hopes up as soon as they saw the leaf headbands. Before Yamato could speak, he was suddenly puking out blood. He looked down and saw a kunai in his chest. He turned his head back to see Naruto's smirking face. He fell face first on the ground. The Oto shinobi could only stare in shock at what the blonde had done to his comrade. The civilians trapped were also on the same note. Before anything else, the Oto shinobi felt a strong force pulling on him. What's this? He thought, alarmed. He was soon pulled towards the blonde, who he noticed that his eyes had changed. Bansho Tenin. Naruto merely stabbed the Oto shinobi before throwing him on the ground next to Yamato. He then did a series of long and complicated hand seals. What's he doing? Asked one civilian. The others merely shook their heads, not knowing. After finishing, Naruto brought his right hand down, saying, Kuchios, Shinigami. The civilians shuddered as they felt a cold wind appeared. Then they noticed a dark form standing or floating in front of the blonde enigma, holding what appeared to be a wooden cane with a skull on top with his right hand. What is that? Wondered every civilian present. Uzumaki, said the figure. Naruto, for his part, nodded his head. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. But it's obvious that you already knew that. I also think that you know what I want. The figure let out an in agreement. Indeed. Although I wasn't sure if you would go through with it. Naruto tilted his head at this. And why is that? The figure chuckled. Because if I were to truly revive your mother, then I will take every person's soul in this room. The civilians began to shake when they heard that. Naruto snorted. You actually think I care about them? Please. The figure was silent for a few moments before laughing. You are truly different from him. Him, thought Naruto. Is he talking about Madara? Something tells me no. Muttered Kurama, and Kushina had to agree with him on that. Naruto shook his head. Will you do it then? He asked. The figure nodded. He pointed his cane at Naruto. The skull then began to glow black with the eyes glowing red. Naruto felt a burning sensation, but it wasn't physical. He then heard a scream and realized it was his mother. When the figure finished, Naruto panted as he kneeled. That hurt like a bitch, he thought. But did it work? It is done. Naruto looked up and the figure stepped, floated to the side, and his mother was standing, grinning. It worked, she said as she ran up to Naruto and hugged him. The figure then turned to the cowering civilians. Now for my payment. The civilians screamed and fell over as their bodies turned into ash. But both mother and son didn't pay any attention to that. Now, began the figure making Kushina, and Naruto turned to him. If my services are no longer required, I will take my leave. The figure then chuckled. I am interested to see how your path will end now that you have chosen this road, Uzumaki. Naruto narrowed his eyes, remembering the dream. What are you then? He asked. The figure knew what he was talking about but shook his head. No, that is, someone else. He then pointed to Naruto's Rinnegan eyes with his free hand. You will soon come to know what having those eyes means, boy. Just like he did a long time ago. With that the figure disappeared, and so did the dark and cold feeling. What the hell is that supposed to mean, thought Naruto. But he didn't get to think about anything else as Kushina took hold of his face and kissed him. Naruto widened his eyes as his own mother kissed him. When she parted, she smiled. I've been wanting to do that for a while now. Naruto could only stare at his mother in shock. And then there was one, said Kurama with a chuckle, referring to the fact that he was the only one left in Naruto's subconscious. But is that really a problem? Interrupted Kushina, although her smile did lessen. Naruto took notice of it and frowned before smirking. If you wish. Kushina's smile came back. Mikoto sighed in relief and pleasure as she bathed in a hot spring in a village just outside of Konoha. Oh yeah, this is living. Movement caught her eye and she sighed, but this time in irritation. You know, if it were anyone else, I would have killed him. Oh, I don't know about that. What about the Uzumaki boy? Mikoto turned her head away with a huff. What are you doing here anyways? Weren't you supposed? We split up. Your son just killed Deidara and Obito killed Kakuzu, so Tobi is speeding up his plans. And Kabuto? Got away, again. He really is like a second version of Orochimaru. Something the world doesn't need, muttered Mikoto with a shudder. In any case, it won't be long now before both Tobi and Kabuto are killed. And Pain? What about him? He's just a pawn in this. Aren't we all? Mikoto turned to the newcomer. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. So what do you want me to do? I doubt you still want me to keep pretending that I work for Tobi. Mikoto narrowed her eyes at him, dodging her question, but answered. For now, yes, keep up the acting. But don't worry, soon that will end. Now get going before anyone catches you, Zetsu. Black Zetsu chuckled before disappearing underground as if he was never there. Mikoto sighed as she laid her back. We're all pawns, huh? But for whom? Naruto and Kushina quietly made their way through the corridor. Naruto led the way, presuming that since he was the one who knew the way back since he walked in the first place. It was not a good idea. So we're lost? Asked Kushina with a twitching eyebrow. Naruto could only shrug. It's not my fault. Seriously, every corridor in this place is the fucking same. Same color, same doors, same pattern. I think this is why Orochimaru went insane. Hell, I've been here less than an hour and I'm already reaching that level. Kushina had to admit that her son had a point. How anyone could know how to get from point A to point B without getting lost down here had to be some sort of freak, or something like that. I just say we blow our way out of here. Naruto nodded his head, but since Kushina was no longer in his mind, she could not hear what Kurama had said. So she raised an eyebrow. Kurama says to blow our way out, explained Naruto, and I have to agree with him like I did in the first place. Kushina sighed. I know you don't care what Konoha thinks anymore, but they're going to find either way, interrupted Naruto. I killed that Jonin, Yamato or whatever his name was, so it's really a moot point now. You couldn't resist, could you? Naruto nodded his head, although mentally this time. But the decision of whether or not they were going to proceed quietly or not was taken from them as they heard footsteps. Someone is coming, said Kushina. Finally. Naruto sighed in relief as Kakashi and Kiba with Akamaru appeared running down the hall. Kushina narrowed her eyes. No point avoiding it, I guess. She glanced at Naruto's eager face. But I don't think he wanted to avoid it, she thought with a sweat drop. Naruto, said Kiba as he and Kakashi stopped before pausing and taking in the fact that there was an attractive redhead next to said blonde. Kakashi's face was devoid of all colors as he recognized the said redhead. Kei Kushina, he asked, not quite believing that it could be her. Kushina, repeated Kiba, confused. Oh, said Kushina, surprised. Do you still remember me? I don't know if I should be grateful or not. But how? Asked Kakashi, coming out of his shock. You should be dead. Kushina's face turned dark. There's nothing that I have to explain to you, Kakashi. Do know though, that you. She then charged at Kakashi, who at the last second blocked Kushina's kick. And she wanted to do this quietly. Naruto chuckled before facing Kiba, who was looking at Kushina and Kakashi fighting with a confused face. Oi mutt, he called out, making Kiba face him with a scowl. Who are you calling? He didn't get to finish as he was sent flying all the way to the end of the hallway, crashing into the wall courtesy of Naruto's punch. Akamaru ran to his master. Kakashi could only stare wide-eyed at what Naruto had done. What's going on, he thought. Kushina scowled. I can't fight properly in this thing, she thought, referring to the unflattering long dress she wore. Naruto-kun, could you be a dear and please hand me a kunai? She asked. Without facing her, Naruto merely threw her one. She caught it, and used it to cut the dress all the way up to her legs. Kakashi blushed slightly at seeing some more skin. But it ended as Kushina went at him again, kunai in hand. He took out his own and clashed. Do you really think you can beat me? Asked Kushina with a smirk. We'll see, said Kakashi, trying to push her back. Kiba held his cheek in pain as Akamaru tried to console him. He turned towards the advancing Naruto. Why the hell did you do that? I've been meaning to do this ever since I returned, began Naruto with cold eyes. I might as well start. So, are you and Naruto dating? Fu sighed in irritation at the question. For the past 30 minutes, the monkey, the nickname she had given Sakura for some reason, had been trying to start a conversation. For her part, Fu didn't want to discuss a single thing with the pink-haired girl. She already knew what Sakura wanted to know in any case, so what was the point? After trying multiple times to start a conversation, Sakura had given up and decided to just straight out and ask what had been bugging her ever since Naruto had hugged Fu in front of everyone. Naruto had been cold to everyone ever since he got back, so for him to hug someone was a big surprise. But also because she thought that Naruto still had feelings for her. Of course, what he had said to her after the bell test did state otherwise, but she convinced herself that he just wanted to act like Sasuke and pretend that he didn't still like her but secretly did. Talk about self-denial. Fu thought about it for a second. She considered not responding, but a better idea came to her mind. Yes, we are, she answered, making Sakura stop walking, which in turn made Fu stop and turn to Sakura. What's it to you? Sakura tried her best to smile, but even Fu could see that it was forced. Nothing. I was just wondering about it. I mean, Naruto isn't the person one would want to date. Fu could only stare at what the monkey had said, before starting to walk again. You're an idiot, she stated without turning to see what Sakura's reaction was. Sakura narrowed her eyes and was about to reply. But before she could, an explosion caught their attention. The two immediately turned and made their way towards it. So he's not going to stay, thought Fu sadly as she ran behind Sakura. But I guess I should have expected it. Ugh. Kakashi held his left arm from a serious deep cut thanks to Kushina. I really could never beat her in Kenjutsu, he thought. I doubt even Sensei could. And she doesn't even have a sword, but even so with just a kunai. The ceiling was blown up thanks to Naruto making a big hole in the middle of the forest with the 4 shinobi standing in it. Broken parts of what made walls and doors were currently everywhere. All that remained was the light purple floor. "Is this all you can do without your Sharingan?" said Kushina as she twirled her kunai. "Because if so, then you should probably use it or else you'll really end up dead." Kakashi remained silent but did as Kushina said and brought his headband up. He glanced at his left arm. "I won't be able to use any jutsu now," he thought with a frown. "I really should not have fought her like that." Kushina smirked. "Here I come." Naruto for his part was holding Kiba by the throat with his right hand. Akamaru laid a few feet away with cuts and bruises, dead. "Why?" was the only thing Kiba could ask. "Do you really have to ask?" said Naruto. He then brought his other hand forward, kunai drawn and ready to finish Kiba off. A loud gasp stopped him. He turned to where he had heard it and came face to face with Sakura's shocked face, Fu standing behind her. "What are you doing?" asked Sakura with wide eyes. Naruto sighed. "Is this really that surprising? Considering how you were, yes it is." Naruto mentally rolled his eyes at Kurama's answer. "I'm going to kill him," he answered like it was nothing. "What else does it look like I'm doing?" Before Sakura could say anything to try to stop him, Naruto finished bringing the kunai forward and sliced Kiba's head with a clean cut. Sakura could only scream as Kiba's head fell off and landed on the ground. Naruto let go of Kiba and the rest of his body followed. Kakashi could not think of anything that just happened. But he didn't have to. "Don't forget about me," said Kushina as she appeared behind Kakashi and delivered a powerful kick to his side. Kakashi was sent rolling to the ground. Then Hinata and Shino arrived through the same hallway that Sakura and Fu had come in and could only stare in shock at their third teammate's dead body. Hinata burst into tears and Shino gazed at Naruto. "I suppose it was you," said Shino quietly. Naruto shrugged. "Yep. I see." Kushina appeared at his side. "What about Kakashi?" asked Naruto. "He's unconscious over there," answered Kushina. "There's really nothing for me in killing him right now. I want him to be conscious when I do. In any case, we should get going." "No you're not," said Shino as he stepped forward. Sakura and Hinata were too shocked to do anything and Fu was merely standing there with a bored look on her face. Naruto rolled his eyes. "You know something, Shino? I really don't have a problem with you. I wasn't going to kill you right now, but if you try to stop me I will." "If you're going to kill me anyways, it doesn't make a difference," stated Shino. Naruto chuckled. "You got me. A question first though." Shino didn't respond, so Naruto took that as the sign to continue. "Why aren't you asking me why I'm doing this? Hell, you don't seem surprised at all." "Why?" "Because it's not surprising to me," he answered. "When you left unexpectedly when you were with Jiraiya-sama, Shikamaru suspected you did it on purpose and that you had reason for doing it. So did I. What you're doing right now must be that reason." Naruto clapped. "Well done. Yes, you're absolutely right. Now, you want to continue?" Bugs starting to surround Shino was his answer. Kushina merely stepped back and so did Fu. Sakura shook her head and clenched her fists. "I don't know what's going on," she said, stopping both Naruto and Shino, "but I'm not letting you leave." That caused Hinata to come out of her shock as well, but she was still crying. Naruto raised an amused eyebrow. "How do you plan on doing that?" Sakura didn't respond. Instead, she simply readied her gloves and ran towards Naruto before Shino could stop her. Naruto sighed as Sakura threw punch after punch. He easily dodged all of them. One wild swing and he grabbed her right shoulder and swung her back with great force. "I'm not playing games," stated Naruto darkly. He activated his Rinnegan. "I'll show you how far we are in power. Shinra Tensei." Sakura and the others were blown back, including Fu. Sorry Fu, thought Naruto. Movement caught his eye. Naruto and Kushina turned and looked up towards the edge. There, standing, was Guy and his team. You guys, said Naruto in surprise, what are you doing here? Tsunade had a bad feeling about this mission, responded Guy with narrowed eyes as he looked around. It seemed she was right. Sakura-san, said Lee to Sakura's down form. Tenten readied her scrolls and Niji had an emotionless look. This is it for now, said Kushina as she stepped closer to Naruto, making Guy's eyes widened. Kushina? He asked in surprise. Hell to you too Guy, said Kushina with a smile. She then nudged Naruto. We should get going. Naruto took a glance at Fu who was slowly getting up before looking at Guy's team. Should we? We'll save this for later, said Kushina. Naruto sighed before placing his right arm around Kushina's waist. Till next time, said Naruto, but mainly to Niji. The others didn't catch that however, but Niji did. Niji did a subtle nod. Naruto and Kushina disappeared in a dark flash. Why did we leave? Asked Naruto as he and Kushina jumped from tree to tree. 2 reasons, began Kushina holding up 2 fingers, 1, so that they can return to Konoha and let them know what happened. I'm sure that you wanted them to know and killing Inuzuka lets them know that you're serious. And 2, here she shrugged, I want to get out of this dress already and shower as well. And there's the pleasures of having a real body again that I want to experience, she finished with a smirk. Naruto rolled his eyes at that. Oi, do you think letting them know that you possessed the Rinnegan was a good idea? Maybe, maybe not. But even if they know, they have nothing on what it can do, so I'm still in the advantage. With that, the 2 continued on their way. Obito sighed as he laid back on a rock. Yujito was currently washing her face in a nearby stream, and B was humming as he wrote something in his rap book. I didn't think Kakuzu would be defeated like that, thought Obito. But I guess it couldn't be helped without letting the other know that he was working for me. Now though, I really don't know how to track wherever Kabuto went. That bastard is really slippery. What now? Asked Yujito as she walked up to a tree and leaned on it. I don't know, answered Obito. I guess I should contact Mikoto. He suddenly jumped from his spot. Paper shurikens were on it the next second. Yujito and B sprung into protective stances next to each other. Obito landed in front of them the next second. Obito smirked as Pain in his 6 bodies and Konan appeared before them. Well, this is really unexpected. I didn't think you would show up just yet, Pain. You're a hindrance that needs to be taken care of, stated Pain in his Tendo body. Konan was silent from her spot. Heh, I see, said Obito. So Toby is too scared to take me out on his own, so he sends you, huh? Take it any way you want, responded Pain. He brought his right arm up. Bansho Tenon. Shit, thought Obito as he was pulled forward. What is that? Asked Yujito. She didn't get a response as she and B dodged paper shurikens from Konan. Obito teleported at the last second. Pain brought his hand down before the 6 paths took their formation. Kami Chakram. Yujito could barely dodge the paper disc. It then circled back towards her. She was so caught up in trying to dodge she didn't notice the fact that her feet were suddenly covered in paper. You will be captured, said Konan quietly. Yujito cursed before calling on Nibi's chakra and blowing all the papers away. We'll see about that. Time to care for you, fool ya fools, said B as he came up from above the 6 paths, Kuchios. The Chikashodo path brought both hands down and a giant ox and a giant rhino appeared in a puff of smoke. B cursed and brought out the tentacles of the Hachibi as the rhino hit him dead on. The rhino and him engaged in a battle of strength but was eventually pushed back, and the ox came ramming him from the side. The Tendo path brought his hand up again and pulled B towards him. The Gakido path came forward and took hold of B in a choke hold. What's going on, thought B as he felt his chakra disappear. Not only that. B, this guy is absorbing my chakra as well. B's eyes widened, but he then felt his strength leave him as well. That's one, muttered the Tendo path. Obito then appeared in front of the Chikashodo path and grabbed both of its shoulders and they disappeared. The Tendo body narrowed his eyes. I don't sense him anywhere. Then, the ox and rhino disappeared in a puff of smoke. To time this, thought the Tendo body. The Shirato path took B, who was now unconscious, and carried him over his shoulder and took to the trees. Tendo's body turned his head immediately. Shinra Tensei. Obito was blown back. Shit. He thought as he landed. I forgot these guys can share vision. He glanced at the other paths that were watching. A big explosion caught their attention from within the forest. A few seconds later, Konan appeared flying with Yujito being held by paper. Yujito's clothes were all nearly burned and her body had multiple injuries. This is not good, thought Obito as he stood up. Give up, said the Tendo path, I've worked with Toby long enough to know a few things about that jutsu you use. Obito chuckled. Perhaps, but you should know that this is incomplete. He closed his eyes. Mine, however, he opened his eyes, is complete. Kamui. The Tendo path's eyes widened slightly as the Ninjendo path was sucked into a vortex. It's long range too, thought Pain. It's your turn, said Obito. Konan then launched shuriken after shuriken at Obito, making him go on the defensive. It gave Pain the perfect opportunity to launch a sphere of gravity into the sky. He brought his hands together. Konan, get back. Konan did as he instructed. Chibaku Tensei. What the hell, thought Obito as the ground beneath him shook and rocks and trees, hell, everything was pulled upwards. Fuck, he thought as the place where he was standing was also pulled. He teleported away. He reappeared a good distance away. He gazed at the gigantic rock that was forming. I didn't think he was this powerful, thought Obito. And he wasn't holding back either. Toby, you bastard. He shook his fists. Damn it. This is not a setback that we need. He began to walk away. Mikoto is not going to handle this well. Toby chuckled as Pain and Konan threw both B and Yujito on the ground. You did well. It cost me 2 paths though, said Pain. I'm going to need time before I can go after the Kyuubi. You can have it, said Toby as he stood up. For now, we're going to have to seal the Nibi and Hachibi. What about Kabuto? Asked Konan. I have White Zetsu looking for him, answered Toby. Black Zetsu is trying to find a way to get to the Nanabai, he further added. She's in Konoha, said Pain. We can capture her at the same time as the Kyuubi. Toby shook his head. No, she needs to be captured first. But before that, we have things to do. What? Tsunade-sama, please calm down. Tsunade took deep breaths, making Shizun sigh in relief. Tsunade gazed at the battered shinobi. Is this true, Kakashi? And by Kami, you better not be joking. Kakashi could only nod. It's true. He's right, Guy further added, I also saw it as well. Tsunade clenched her hands. How can Kushina be alive? And Naruto? She turned to Shizun. Call Jiraiya back this instant. Tell him it's important. Shizun nodded and ran out the door. Tsunade sighed and looked at the gathered shinobi. All right, go home and rest. We're not going after him, asked Sakura, nearly screaming. Tsunade turned to the girl with a glare. She was not in the mood for this. The only reason you need is that I say so, she stated with a cold tone, making Sakura flinch. But if you must know, do you have any idea where he is? Sakura looked down. Exactly. Now leave. She and the rest bowed before walking out. Hinata then stopped and then turned to Tsunade. Is Naruto-kun going to be placed in the B-bingo book? She asked with a sad look on her face. Tsunade sighed. I don't know. Hinata could only nod and walk out. The other to stay was Fu. I have a request. And that is? Asked Tsunade. May I stay in Naruto's apartment? I've gotten used to it. Tsunade thought about it for a second. I suppose you could. But I'm fine, interrupted Fu and bowed again. Thank you. She then walked out too. Tsunade turned to pictures of the Hokages that were hanging on the wall. This really is a mess. Kushina could only smirk at her friend's stupefied face. In the flesh. The three are currently staying in an inn in a fairly sized village. But how? Asked Mikoto. It was in the scroll you gave me, answered Naruto. Didn't you read it? Asked Naruto with an eyebrow. Mikoto shook her head. I can't. Only someone with the Rinnegan can. Interesting, thought Naruto, so Madara didn't take any chances. The bastard was smart, I'll give him that. The three suddenly turned to their right to see Obito appearing in a vortex. Why are you here? Asked Mikoto with a raised eyebrow. Obito sighed. We have problems. What problems? Asked Naruto. B and Yujito were captured, he answered. Silence. What? Said Mikoto in a deadly voice. Obito sighed at that. Pain showed up. He was stronger than I expected. Mikoto narrowed her eyes on him. That's all? You could have. It's not a complete loss, interrupted Naruto. Mikoto turned to look at him with a glare, but didn't say anything, so he continued. How long does it take for a bijou to be sealed? With the jutsu they're using, it takes longer with the fewer people that are present, answered Mikoto, understanding where Naruto was going. You want us to interrupt their sealing, am I right? Exactly, said Naruto, the only problem would be that we don't know where they are. Oh, I don't know about that, said Mikoto with a smirk. The others looked at her confused. What are you hiding? Asked Kushina, knowing very well what that look on her friend's face meant. She would be talking about me, said Black Zetsu as he appeared next to her. You, said Obito pointing at him. What the hell is this? He said, turning to Mikoto with narrowed eyes. How long have you two been working together? Hello to you too, said Black Zetsu sarcastically. Naruto and Kushina merely watched this play out. Mikoto sighed. Guess I don't have a choice, she thought. She looked at Zetsu though. I thought I told you that you shouldn't be here. Black Zetsu shrugged. Toby merely wants me to see how we can get the Nanabi without hassle. Of course, he doesn't know how long that's going to take. Besides, he looked at Naruto, I've wanted to meet him personally. Why? Asked Naruto with a raised eyebrow. He chuckled. So you don't know yet? Pity. What are you talking about? Asked Naruto, quite tired about the fact that no one would just tell him what the big deal was. Answer the question, interrupted Obito, looking straight at Mikoto. Mikoto sighed. It's quite simple. I was saved from the massacre by the same person who saved you. Obito's eyes widened. What? You mean that? Mikoto nodded. That's right. Madara saved me. So he's involved here too, is he? Said Kurama. Naruto just stayed silent, wanting to know what had happened. Technically it was me, said Black Zetsu. Only because Madara ordered you to, shot back Mikoto. True. Wait a second, said Kushina looking at Obito and Mikoto. Just what did Madara want by saving you too? Not only that, but how are you even unharmed from your incident? I heard that you were crushed by a boulder, she finished, looking at Obito. Obito sighed. The truth is that I died that day. What? Said Kushina. But you're here. So are you, responded Obito, and yet you were also dead. So Madara did the same thing I did, thought Naruto. Obito turned to Naruto. I take it you used that summoning jutsu? At Naruto's nod, he continued. Madara did the same thing. There's another jutsu that can be used as well, but if you use that you die. That summoning is more convenient. What summoning? Asked Mikoto. It's a summoning jutsu where you could summon the Shinigami, answered Naruto, making Mikoto's eyes widened. There's a summoning jutsu like that? She asked. Me and Obito are proof of that, responded Kushina. Obito nodded. Yes, and unlike the Shiki Fujin you don't have to sacrifice your soul. Just others. That's a very convenient jutsu. Muttered Mikoto. Yes it is, agreed Obito. But the point is, why didn't he tell me that he was saving you, he asked Mikoto, and then turned to Black Zetsu. And you, I thought you went off with Toby. Black Zetsu scoffed. I'm basically Madara. Do you seriously think I would follow that idiot? You of all people should know how Madara felt about Toby's plan. So you were just faking this whole time? Asked Obito in bewilderment. Black Zetsu nodded. Yes. I was feigning the whole time not knowing who Mikoto was or who you were. You do realize how many times I could have killed you, exclaimed Obito. Black Zetsu merely shrugged. Something doesn't make sense here, said Naruto. The others turned to look at him. Wouldn't that other version of yourself have known that as well? He asked and turned to Mikoto. And just how did you escape that night? Itachi himself was shocked when he found out you were alive, and I find it pretty hard to believe that you could have fooled him with some genjutsu. That was his specialty. Mikoto chuckled. Pretty clever, aren't you? But yes, it wasn't a genjutsu that tricked Itachi. It ties to the fact that White Zetsu doesn't know who Obito is. She paused. It was the original White Zetsu, the very first one that Madara himself created, that took my place and died that night. Wait a minute, interrupted Obito, those clones go back to their original form once they're killed. That's Toby's fault, said Black Zetsu. Madara created the first White Zetsu perfectly. Toby, however, never figured out how to duplicate that. I see, said Obito as he closed his eyes. So who really is Toby? Asked Naruto. Mikoto glanced at Obito, who sighed. That is complicated, he muttered. And this whole thing isn't, said Kushina incredulously. Fine. Obito looked up. I guess you could call him my dark self. Naruto narrowed his eyes, remembering Dark Naruto. What do you mean by that? Asked Kushina. Obito shrugged. I don't understand it fully, but when I died, there was a part of me that resented what had happened. That it shouldn't have been me. When Madara brought me back, that feeling somehow gained life on its own, and there were two of us. At first, it wasn't bad really. He was like a new brother really. The only problem was that since that feeling was born when half of my body was crushed, so was he. The only reason Madara bothered to save him was because he was intrigued. Toby always did resent me for how he was born. But when Rin died everything changed. Rin, muttered Kushina, knowing fully well that Obito had feelings for the girl. He pleaded with Madara to bring her back, but by then Madara didn't possess the Rinnegan anymore. Of course then, he decided to complete the crazy idea that Madara once told us was his plan. And that is? Asked Naruto. Tsuki no Mi Kikaku, answered Black Zetsu. So everything Toby is doing is Madara's plan? Said Kushina. Obito shook his head. No. Madara gave up on that plan. Why? She asked. He found a better one, he said, glancing at Naruto, who narrowed his eyes. I'm nobody's plan. What I'm doing is all because of my own free will. I never said that, said Obito, shaking his head. Then what are? That's for you to find out, interrupted Black Zetsu. So he's doing this all for Rin, continued Kushina incredulously before an argument could break out. I know, muttered Obito. If he's yourself, then why didn't you do this as well? Asked Naruto. Obito sighed. Because I know Rin would never agree with it. She died. That's the truth of it all. Besides, I'm sane enough to know that Madara's first plan was stupid. Hell, he himself realized it too. And why did he feel the need to save you two in particular? Asked Naruto. To represent the Uchiha, answered Black Zetsu. In what? Black Zetsu chuckled. Again, that's for you to find out. Naruto turned to the other two. I don't know, admitted Mikoto with irritation. Annoying bastard has never told me, she said, pointing at Black Zetsu. And you've never forced him? Asked Naruto. Mikoto shrugged. I'm alive. Do you really think I'm going to push it? Obito shook his head as well. That's something he didn't tell me, not that it really matters to me. Well, at least we're all on the same page now, said Kushina as she rubbed her temples. No, we're not, thought Naruto, remembering Mito's involvement as well, but didn't say anything. Well, now we need to figure out what to do with this setback, said Mikoto. She turned to Black Zetsu. Get going, will you? We need to find out where Tobi is sealing the bijou. Black Zetsu chuckled as it began to sink. A pleasure to meet you, Uzumaki Naruto. He disappeared completely. I'm going then, said Naruto. Wait a minute, interrupted Kushina. I still need a shower, and a change of clothes. And you know what? She finished with a smirk. Naruto sighed at her insistence. I'm going to get Sasuke and the others, said Obito as he teleported as well, already knowing what was going to happen. Mikoto turned to the last two. How about some fun in the shower, she suggested with a smirk that was mirrored by Kushina. Naruto only had one thought. Jackpot. Fu sighed as she laid on the bed in Naruto's apartment, having already read the note. A knock on the door caused her to get up. She opened it and was greeted by Enko's smiling face. So you're here, muttered Fu. No need to be in the dumps, said Enko as she flung her arm around Fu's shoulders. The brat is going to be back. And when he does, he'll destroy this village and then we won't have to leave him again. Fu sighed but nodded. Enko smiled some more. Good. Now we have a job to do.